Chapter 1389. It wasn't that Qinhao was merciful, but that there was no need to kill them all. After all, that decision was made by Shi Chao, and those who deserved to be killed had already been killed by Qinhao. As for the rest, they were just following orders due to their different standpoints. Moreover, this was just a competition. If he really wanted to kill them all, Qinhao wouldn't be able to do it. Brother Fatty, that guy, he's already dead. What's left is just a divine spark. Don't worry, Qinhao said directly, all right, continue to comprehend and try to break through this hurdle as soon as possible. Yes, Brother Fatty. Okay. Everyone replied excitedly, looking at Fatty in awe. Without a doubt, the terrifying strength that Fatty had displayed had completely shocked everyone. Shi Chao was the soul of all living things, but Fatty had actually killed him. Although Fatty didn't explain why he had released his aura at the last moment and denied that it was a divine spark, they didn't think so. In their opinion, Fatty just didn't want to reveal too much and kept a low profile. It can't be, right? How is this possible? My Tanglong Academy actually chose to avoid it. Ha ha ha. Li Wuxiang, don't be so smug. Ha ha ha, do you really think that your Tanglong Academy is stronger than us? Now you see, ha 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 ha. Outside the myriad Tao space, the dean of the Tanglong Academy, Li Wuxiang, couldn't believe his eyes. The light spot representing the Tanglong Academy actually retreated, obviously choosing to take a detour, while the light spot representing the Hua Academy didn't move at all. He couldn't believe such a scene. In his opinion, with Shi Chao leading Tanglong Academy, Shi Chao alone was enough to threaten the entire Hua Academy, but in the end, however, Chen Wanxiang, the dean of Hua Academy, was excited. He had to admit that before, he was indeed very depressed. Even though he knew that Qinhao's strength was abnormal, he couldn't be sure that Qinhao could lead Hua Academy to defeat Shi Chao and the others. After all, he had seen Shi Chao's strength too many times in the past 300 years. Even Qinhao's clone back then was far from being comparable. At this moment, seeing Tanglong Academy leave, Hua Academy naturally won. How could he not be excited? He was truly proud and elated. In their eyes, the difference in the space-time laws between the myriad Tao space and the outside world was only a matter of moments. Soon, the Tanglong Academy entered the new passage. Because they were already far ahead of most of the other academies, there were no competitors in the new passage. Therefore, from the outside, it didn't take long for Tanglong Academy, Daihua Academy, Zhulu Academy, Fluttering Snow Academy, Shao Family, Jade Maiden Palace, and more than a dozen powerful forces to arrive at the 5162nd floor, and they were all blocked. This made the experts in the outside world conclude that they had encountered a barrier of laws that was difficult to comprehend in the myriad Tao space. As time passed, many of the top academies caught up. Coincidentally, the light spot representing the top academy, the Thick Earth Academy, once again stepped into the channel where the Taoist Academy was located. This made Li Wuxiang, who was in a bad mood, suddenly excited. Ha ha ha. Chen Wanxiang, your luck is really bad. Earth Academy, ha. I suddenly understand why Shi Chao led our disciples around. It's not that they lost to you, but that they showed mercy when they saw your sister academy. Of course, the most important point is that the Thick Earth Academy is the closest to the Thick Earth Academy. It's a good thing to avoid them in advance. It'll save us some trouble. Shut your crow's beak. You lost, so why are you looking for excuses? Damn it, so unlucky. Chen Wanxiang said angrily, his old face twisted again. The Thick Earth Academy was a top academy, and there was no doubt about its strength. And he had to admit that what Li Wuxiang said was possible. Damn it, I hope the little fatty can handle it well. Chen Wanxiang said to himself. What about this time? Of course, the Thick Earth Academy will leave. You believe in his strength that much? What I hear with my ears and what I see with my eyes might not be real. However, what I feel with my heart, what I see, and what I hear are the most real things. Fatty's strength, in my opinion, is not inferior to the top monsters of Zhulu. Moreover, his potential is even greater. In the grotto heaven, Ruolan stared at the light spots on the myriad Dao spatial display with a smile and said confidently. You're incorrigible. Look at your intoxicated expression, you're like a cat in heat. You can think of it that way. I'm speechless, you're jealous, right? Ha. Bah, a damn fatty and a tiny Daluo Jinxian. Even if he's the spirit of all things, so what? I, Ruoxian, am nothing in his eyes. Didn't you see that painting? That's his true appearance. That's nothing more than your imagination through his eyes. I saw it with my heart. You don't understand. Moreover, you also heard that during the combat strength assessment, the appearance of the slaughter will that gave birth to spiritual intelligence was drawn by me. Before I drew it, I didn't know about it. This also means that what I saw through his eyes is real. So what if it's him? Is the appearance important? It's not important. You're the one who despises him for being a fatty, okay? Can't we still be sisters? Ruoxian's face darkened at Ruolan's words. She was speechless for a long time. She glared fiercely at Ruolan and said, I want to know what attracted you to him, aura. What aura? An aura that makes me fall in love at first sight. Past life, present life, and future life, that's the aura of my 3 generations guardian, Pft. Crazy. Past life, you know. Future life, you're not dead yet. Ah. Earth Academy really left. Everything is as expected. Why are you so surprised, Xian? Ha. Impossible, right? Ha ha ha. Amazing. You're too amazing. Little fatty, old man loves you to death. Ha ha ha. Li Wuxiang, what else do you have to say now? Ha ha ha. It seems to have gone to your academy's tunnel. Ha ha ha, your proud disciple Shi Chao is going to die again, right? Ha ha ha. Fuck. Image, pay attention to your image. Ha ha ha. What's going on? Could it be that Li Yuan, who returned from the Emperor's Star secret realm, has reached such a terrifying level? Although Li Wuxiang didn't want to admit it, he had to admit that the team from Dahua Academy was extremely powerful. Otherwise, the top Earth Academy had no reason to avoid them. Not long after, as Qing Wanxiang said, Tang Long Academy left the tunnel again. Obviously, they were chased away by Earth Academy. Chapter 1390. At this moment, all the disciples in the Grotto Heavens, as well as the cultivators in the Divine Realm, were discussing Taoist College in shock. Even some of the top colleges were paying attention to Taoist College. Taoist College was only a first-rate college, yet they were able to make the top colleges avoid them. What kind of concept was that? They were definitely one of the biggest dark horses in this year's ranking competition. However, buzz. Ha ha ha, I've comprehended it. Let's go. Someone from Zhulu College was the first to break through the profound meaning barrier. Following that, Shao Family, Snowfall College, Jade Lady Palace, and more than 10 other top forces also broke through one after another. Once again, they were like a hot knife through butter, advancing rapidly. Taoist College, which was originally in the lead, did not make any moves. Following that, the top 100 colleges all passed, as well as some other top forces. Even Tanglong College and Kong Ying's first-rate college passed, but Taoist College still did not make any moves. This made Li Wuxiang proud again, but Qing Wanxiang was once again in a dilemma. How could this be? Qing Wanxiang faintly felt that it should be because of Taoist College's comprehensive ability. They had coincidentally encountered a barrier that Fatty, Ling Feng, Ao Qian, and the others with the strongest comprehensive ability could not comprehend. The others' comprehensive ability was too weak, so they could not break through this barrier. However, Qing Wanxiang could only feel anxious. However, not long after, Li Wuxiang, who was rejoicing in other people's misfortune, could not laugh anymore. This was because, although Tanglong Academy had broken through the barrier, the speed at which they broke through the barrier had plummeted when compared to the other leading forces. They had completely lost the momentum they had before. After breaking through more than 10 barriers in a row, what made Li Wuxiang even more uneasy was that the number of barriers Shi Chao had comprehended had not changed at all. What was going on? Most of the previous barriers were comprehended by Shi Chao. Why could he not comprehend any of them now? This was simply impossible. Unless Shi Chao did not comprehend them, but how could he not comprehend them? A strong sense of uneasiness arose in Li Wuxiang's heart. I thought they were very powerful, but it seems that they are just so. More than 400 colleges have already passed. I think they must be dragging us down. Definitely. It's more than 500 now. How disappointing. It's not challenging at all. Murong Qianhua and his two brothers, who had been in a depressed state, became excited and complacent at this time and began to make sarcastic remarks. Si Xian was very disdainful, but she didn't say anything. She was guessing what was going on with Chen Hao and the others. Unfortunately, she couldn't see anything other than the light that represented the University of Dahua. Broken? Fuck. Damn that fatty. But at this moment, Tang Hu, who was talking, suddenly frowned and scolded. It's broken. It's finally broken. Good. Chase after him. Once we get past this barrier, Fatty will definitely be able to catch up. Unlike Murong Qianhua and the other two, the other disciples in the grotto cheered excitedly, which made Tang Hu's words seem out of place. Right at this moment, Ruoxian suddenly grunted coldly and turned to look at Tang Hu. Tang Hu, are you a student of Dahua Academy? You're such a narrow-minded person who doesn't know the big picture. How dare you like Ruolan? Get lost as far as you can. And the two of you, shut your stinky mouths. If you don't speak, no one will know how shallow you are. No one had expected Ruoxian to fly into a rage. Murong Qianhua, Xian Yuanchen, and Tang Hu suddenly became extremely embarrassed, especially when they saw the disdainful eyes of the crowd looking at them. They didn't expect that they would get carried away and forget to consider what kind of situation they were in. Phew, finally, a breakthrough. Good job. Chen Hao looked at the disciples who had comprehended this barrier and praised them. Then, his body suddenly became bigger. Chi! 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 Beams of light flashed past and everyone arrived on Chen Hao's shoulder. Let's go. We have been delayed for a long time and should be lagging behind a lot. Everyone, try your best to comprehend. Ishue, give up on comprehending and help everyone. Okay. Chi! Chen Hao directly activated the great teleportation technique to the extreme and flashed forward. After defeating the Tanglong Academy and forcing the Thick Earth Academy to leave, Chen Hao's terrifying strength had begun to show. As they continued to go deeper, they would inevitably face more battles. Fatty Li Yuan was destined to cause a sensation and would inevitably make countless people tremble. Otherwise, 8 years would pass in the blink of an eye. Finally, under the gaze of thousands of people, the core of the myriad Dao space bloomed with incomparably bright light. Immediately, the 100-person team of the Shao family stepped out of the myriad Dao space. The Shao family is number 1. Congratulations, Star River King. Amazing, the Shao family is number 1 6 out of 10 times. No wonder they are the number 1 family of the immortal emperor. Countless exclamations came, and all eyes were focused on the 100-person team of the Shao family. Any one of them must be a top existence in a top academy. Even the powerful Shao Mantian would find it difficult to enter the top 30 in this team. Ha ha ha. Thank you, but this is only the Zenith Heaven realm. There are more. In the face of many congratulations, the Star River King stroked his beard and laughed. He said modestly, Zhilu Academy and Jade Girl Palace will be there soon. Buzz. Buzz buzz buzz. As soon as the Celestial River King's words fell, coincidentally, the myriad Dao space once again bloomed with a bright light. Immediately, the disciples of the number 1 academy, Zhulu Academy, stepped out of the myriad Tao space. An extraordinarily handsome figure that was radiating with boundless brilliance attracted everyone's attention. It was as if a god had descended from the heavens. Qin Tianhe. Countless female disciples were mesmerized. But at this moment, in the cave residence of the Taoist Academy, everyone's eyes widened. They could not believe what they were seeing. Isn't that the appearance of Fatty's massacre will? Isn't that the handsome guy that teacher Rulin drew? At this moment, he actually appeared in front of everyone. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? Yes, could it be that he is Fatty's doppelganger like Chenritian? Nonsense, how can a doppelganger be stronger than the original body? I think it should be a coincidence. This is the commander of Zhulu Academy's Daluo Golden Wonderland. He's too strong. I didn't expect such a handsome person to exist. The people of the Taoist Academy discussed and were extremely surprised. Only Si Xian frowned slightly. She stared at the arrogant figure, deep in thought. She naturally knew that it was Qin Hao's second life. That extremely powerful aura made her worry for Qin Hao. Chen Nan, Pan Long, and the others who also knew what was going on were also slightly surprised. Chapter 1391. Strange, Ruolan's gaze was also fixed on Qin Tianhe's departing figure, a little puzzled. How could it be so similar? Could it be related to little Fatty? Is it his doppelganger? It's not impossible, his strength lies in the power of faith, a little weak. Ruolan's sharp eyes and perception made her suspicious, but she was not sure. After that, teams stepped out every once in a while. The Jade Maiden Palace was expected to be third, the Snowflake Academy was fourth, and then the veteran top academies. When the 16th bright light burst out from the core of the myriad Tao space, the name Dahua Li Yuan resounded throughout the world, appearing in the discussions of every grotto heaven. Even the live broadcast screen in the celestial realm gave Qin Hao a close-up. A close-up of Dahua Li Yuan. Because the first-rate academy led by him had achieved 16th place in the team score. Because his personal comprehension of the barrier profound had broken the previous record, and he was ranked first in this year's competition, far ahead. Therefore, when he led the people of Dahua Li Yuan out of the core of the myriad Tao space and rushed into the sky from the middle of the arena, everyone's eyes and communication treasures connected to the celestial realm were all locked on him. It was a chubby figure with a harmless smile on his face. There wasn't even the slightest trace of arrogance of a monstrous genius on his body. However, at this moment, his pitch-black eyes were blooming with a deep and distant radiance that was as resplendent as the stars. The corners of his mouth slightly curled up, and because of his abnormal and heaven-defying performance, he was bestowed with a mysterious and charming halo. Dahua Li Yuan. Li Yuan. He is Li Yuan. His personal comprehension of 8,462 levels, so strong. So it's like this. He doesn't seem to be as handsome as me. But he is really strong, more than twice the previous record, too abnormal. Yes, but I think he is more charming than you, so cute. Tianxi. Ha. Indeed, this is Tianxi, with his eyes, it can't be wrong. Yes, as I said, that should be Tianxi's second life. This is our son. Tianxi. How, in the celestial realm, Chen Wuliang, Shui Mei, and Han Mei stared at the fatty on the screen with excitement. Tears of excitement appeared in Shui Mei's eyes. Although it wasn't Chen Hao's appearance, how could they not recognize the completely simulated aura and those special eyes? Brother. It's my brother. Brother is actually back. They were already in the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. When Chen Nan, who was watching at the scene, saw Qin Hao's fat appearance and sensed Qin Hao's aura, he was so excited that his entire body trembled. Men don't cry easily, but every time he saw his brother, Chen Nan couldn't control himself. They were sparkling with excitement. Boss. It's Boss. Ha ha ha, Boss is back. Itota, Pan Long, Du Jing, Lan Feng, Li Yang, Fan Dongsheng and the others were also extremely excited. They hugged each other tightly and beat each other. Big brother, Brother Hao, Chen Ling and Fan Donglu both stared at the fat figure and murmured. Although they knew that their voices couldn't penetrate the grotto heaven and be heard by Chen Hao, they were still very excited to see the figure that changed their lives after so many years, even if it was disguised as a fat man. It wasn't love, but it was beyond love. They couldn't describe the feelings in their hearts. Now, they had accepted the reality and were really with their respective Taoist partners. They didn't have any thoughts about Chen Hao beyond the relationship between brother and sister, and it was impossible for them to secretly have a relationship with Chen Hao. Even if they didn't have such thoughts deep in their hearts, Chen Hao's position in their hearts was higher than their respective Taoist partners. This was a fact. They couldn't change it themselves, and they couldn't understand it. They clearly felt that they could give up everything for Chen Hao, even if it was their lives. They could do everything for Chen Hao, only Chen Hao was willing. Familial love. Boundless love. They didn't know, and no one knew. The fatty's appearance did not affect the crowd at all, because the aura that the fatty released at this moment was the aura of his original body when he left the ancient chaos great thousand world. Moreover, Xi Xian had shown them the image of fatty Chen Hao. However, Chen Hao simulated the aura he had when he left the primordial chaos. He wanted to show it to his parents and Master Han Mei, who might be watching the competition. Unfortunately, after reincarnating, the women who were like Chen Hao in the Daluo Golden Wonderland were still immersed in the space of the myriad Daos and couldn't step out. Naturally, they couldn't see Chen Hao. First place, and far ahead of second place. Second place is still Chen Ritian, second anima. True self, your comprehension is really strong, but I won't be any worse than you. Little 7, you still don't want to admit defeat? Brother Hao is much stronger than you think. After all, he deliberately created you. What do you have to compete with him? Even second anima Chen Ritian's aura is stronger than yours, let alone Brother Hao. In the heavenly paradise of one of the top academies, a man and a woman were communicating via voice transmission. If Chen Shui and the others were here, they would definitely recognize the two of them. They were Chen Qi, also known as Chen 7th, Chen Hao's 7th anima, and Lu Hui, the spiritual of all living things nurse. Because Chen Qi hadn't participated in the group competition, he had escaped second anima Chen Tianhe's murderous hands. If he hadn't, he probably wouldn't have survived. Humph. None of your business. I really don't know. Why don't you follow them? You're really annoying, you know. Oh really? Do you think I won't squash you to death right now? Great aunt, don't mess around, okay? I admit that you raised me up with a lot of shit and piss, but I'm your beloved, okay? Even though I'm in the 7th anima, he gave me complete freedom of thought. But now, I'm seriously begging you. Don't try to persuade me or destroy my morale. No matter what, I'm going to compete with him and see who's stronger. Fine. If you don't listen, then don't blame me for not warning you when you die in an embarrassing way. Actually, just be a good girl and practice cultivation. Gradually get stronger, then fuse with him. Wouldn't that be great? He's you, and you're him. Why do you have to differentiate? You don't understand. How could I not understand? Well, you've decided to be my beloved beloved. Do you agree? You're just talking. In your hearts, you don't see me as him. How could I be him? I'm me. Therefore, this time, I'm going to fight him to the death. If we run into each other in the competition, then so be it. If we don't, then I'll take the initiative to challenge him. Fine. Do as you wish. Chapter 1392. Lu Hui had left alone to find the 7th life. Chen Shui and the rest did not have much affection for Chen Qi, but Lu Hui was different. Chen Qi could be said to have been brought up by her. Even if she could not treat him as Chen Hao, she still had a strong sense of kinship with him. She did not want Chen Qi to leave alone and sad. What she wanted to see most was for Chen Qi to grow up normally and merge with Chen Hao smoothly. But now, It was obviously impossible. He could not refute Qin-Chi's words. Boss is as powerful as ever. No matter where he goes, he will definitely be the center of attention. Even in the great world of CND, it's no exception. In front of Boss, we are destined to be dim and dull. However, once we leave Boss's range, we will become even brighter, hee. Lan Guang stared at Qin Hao, who had stepped into the grotto heaven of Dahua University, and said faintly. Ha, of course. How can our boss be simple? But, hee, it seems that we have a chance to trample on Boss. Senior brother is now only Daluo Jinxian. Pan Long rubbed his palms together. Go ahead if you have the guts, but don't drag me into it. Du Jing curled his lips. Pan Long, I can tell you clearly that you are purely looking for a beating. Don't you know how powerful Master is? In front of Master, never consider the advantage of a realm. Just ignore it. It was like this in the past, but now it's me. I dare say that even the top geniuses in the Grand Mist Supremacy realm can't do anything to Master. You have seen how powerful Master's second life, Qin Tianhe, is. That aura is very terrifying. Ah. Do you think I don't know? My bones are itching, okay? I just want to be trampled by senior brother. Fuck, you are so cheap. Just pretend we didn't say anything. Get ready, it will be our turn soon. Little fatty, good job. Ha ha ha. 16th place, this is a ranking that Dahua University has never achieved before. Cheng Wanxiang retreated into the grotto heaven and praised excitedly. Is that so? Dean, don't forget the reward you promised. This is just a team competition, there is still a person. Don't worry. If Grand Mist Supremacy Realm can also achieve a breakthrough in the team competition, our University of Dahua might be able to step into the ranks of the top academies in one fell swoop. If that's the case, I will definitely reward all of you. Ha ha ha. Little fatty, you're amazing. Sister Rulin, you flatter me. You guys actually didn't suffer any casualties. Ruo Xian said in shock. Ah. That's right. Ha ha ha, that's because Fat Bro is too awesome, someone said. At this time, Si Xian also came to the fatty's side and naturally held his arm. Fatty, tell me more about the situation inside. What's the deal with Tanglong Academy and Hutu Academy in the beginning, and the top forces we encountered later? Cheng Wanxiang asked impatiently after a brief moment of excitement. At this moment, everyone quieted down. Everyone's gaze turned to Fatty. I killed Shi Chao. Chen Hao's expression did not change in the slightest as he calmly said. However, what he said made Cheng Wanxiang, Ruo Lan, Ruo Xian, and many of the academy's teachers widen their eyes in shock and gasp. Fatty. You. What did you say? You killed Shi Chao. Tanglong Academy's Shi Chao. Yes. He's the fully awakened wisp of all things, you. Cheng Wanxiang wanted to say how could he have killed him, but he stopped halfway. This was because he knew that Fatty had no reason to lie. Moreover, judging from the others' expressions, it was obviously the truth. He didn't use the power of the divine spark. Did you use it too? Cheng Wanxiang instantly thought of the key point. He used it. As for me, I'm not very sure either. In short, he couldn't do anything to me. Fatty said vaguely. He did not want to deny that he was not the wisp of all things. Although he did not know whether he was or not, at least he could hide the heaven-defying celestial tool in his mind. He had broken through the pressure of Shi Chao's divine spark by relying on his own power to activate the aura of the heaven-defying celestial tool in his mind. At that time, all Old God did was remove the aura that the celestial tool was concealing and establish a connection with Chen Hao. Only Chen Hao, the master, could activate the aura of the celestial tool, and Chen Hao had done it. It was obviously not a divine spark. Otherwise, he, who had not awakened any inherited memories, could not activate it at all. As for Thick Earth Academy, they are no match for us at all. There's nothing to say. As for the rest. Chen Hao changed the topic. Wait, Fatty, where's Shi Chao's divine spark? Here. Chen Hao pointed at his head and said, he wanted to refine me so that I would never enter the cycle of reincarnation. Naturally, I had to do the same. Cough, cough, this. If the Dean of Tang Long Academy comes to ask for it, do you plan to return it? No, it's my spoils of war, and it's helpful to my cultivation. Most importantly, I'm just giving him a taste of his own medicine. I'm not a saint. Fatty said without hesitation. Okay, I understand what you mean. Tell me the details and I'll deal with Li Wuxiang. You guys, give me a memory each. Chen Wanxiang said to the disciples with Chen Hao. Yes. Qi. Qi. Light of memories floated in front of Chen Wanxiang, and Chen Wanxiang put them away without asking any more questions. After instructing the disciples of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm to prepare for his entrance, he stepped out of the Grotto Heaven and arrived at the Grotto Heaven's entrance, ready to deal with Li Wuxiang. Li Wuxiang, who was also at the entrance of the Grotto Heaven, was also quite nervous at this moment. He was faintly uneasy in the depths of his heart. Up until now, their Tanglong Academy had also reached the final stage. They had created a strong advantage at the beginning, and they still had a high chance of entering the top 100. That meant that they had surpassed the other top academies. If it wasn't for the fact that his brother's school, the Daihua School, was ahead of him, this result would definitely make him excited. But now, he couldn't bring himself to be excited. Especially after encountering the Daihua School, the barrier that Shi Chao first comprehended had never changed, which made him extremely anxious. Li Wuxiang, you said before that since we've met, even if we're from the same school, casualties are inevitable. No one can blame anyone, right? Don't be cocky in front of me. Didn't you win? It's just the Daluo Golden Wonderland. There's still the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm and the individual competition. Don't worry, I won't say anything no matter how many people die. That's good. Chen Wanxiang, since you know the situation, why don't you tell me? When your people come out, you'll naturally know. Just don't fly into a rage when the time comes. Chen Wanxiang said. His heart was reminded by Li Wuxiang's words, and he was faintly worried about the upcoming competition in the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm. Chapter 1393. Chen Wanxiang was sure that, given Li Wuxiang's personality, once he found out that Shi Chao's disciples had been killed by Fatty and the others, he'd be furious. Moreover, he'd definitely ask the disciples of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm to get back at them. Thinking of this, Chen Wanxiang returned to the Grotto Heaven and instructed Murong Qianhua, Si Xian, and the others. 23rd place, Parkway Academy. Buzz. Not long after, the core of the arena once again rose with a dazzling light. At this moment, Chen Hao's eyes suddenly lit up, and his expression revealed uncontrollable excitement and excitement. Damn, Parkway Academy has so many beauties. No way, they're so beautiful. Fuck, beauties, 1, 2, 3. Fuck, I'm dazzled. Could it be that the disciples of the Jade Maiden Palace have joined Parkway Academy? When the disciples of Parkway Academy stepped out of the myriad Dao spatial core and appeared in front of the cultivators for the first time, all the disciples in the Grotto Heavens and cultivators in the Immortal World space who were watching the competition widened their eyes in shock. It wasn't that Parkway Academy's disciples were too strong. After all, they were only 23rd, and there weren't any outstanding disciples. However, the shock they caused was greater than any of the other academies and factions. The reason was that there were more than 20 beauties in a team of less than 100 people. This ratio was a little too exaggerated. After all, in every academy's top 100, the number of male disciples was already an absolute advantage. Having a dozen or so women was already pretty good. But Parkway Academy actually had nearly 40 women. Even more terrifying was that there were nearly 20 stunning beauties among the 10 or so. This made the male disciples of the other academies envious. Countless praises drifted out. Beauties, super beauties. Fuck, fatty bro, the contract is up. We'll choose Parkway Academy for the last time. Ling Feng said. That's right, that's right. Fatty bro, for the happiness of our brothers, you have no reason to object, right? Ao Qian said. Humph. A bunch of hooligans. Xue Fian and Wan Yishui said disdainfully when they saw Ao Qian, Ling Feng, and especially Fatty, who was even more excited than the other two. Actually, the most important thing was that he despised the Fatty. He clearly had two Taoist companions by his side, yet he dared to act so excited. Wasn't it just beauties? However, to Wan Yishui and Xue Fian's surprise, Si Xian was also staring at the Parkway Academy's beauties with sparkling eyes. She excitedly gripped the Fatty's hand tightly. Harder, harder, harder. What the hell was going on? Wan Yishui and Xue Fian were confused. Not a single one is missing. Very good, very good. Long time no see, each of you has become even more alluring, hee hee. A smile appeared on the Fatty's excited face, and his eyes became extremely intoxicating. This scene made Wan Yishui and Xue Fian even more confused. What kind of look was that? Words couldn't describe it, but she had a feeling that being stared at like this was definitely a kind of happiness for a woman. In short, it had nothing to do with sex. Most of them are your sisters-in-law, except for a few. Don't even think about it. What Ao Qian, Ling Feng, Wan Yishui, and Xue Fian didn't expect was Qin Hao's reply. No, no way, right? Brother Fatty, you're too domineering. You eat the meat, and we brothers drink the soup, okay? Furthermore, Dao companions, even if we're brothers, we should compete fairly. That's right, Brother Fatty, alright, they all followed me to the great world of CND. It's not that I want to snatch them from you, but that you don't even have the chance to snatch them. They're already my Dao companions, the Fatty said proudly. If you don't believe me, ask Si Xian. This time, it was Ao Guang and Ling Feng's turn to be dumbfounded. When Qin Shui, Helian Wuzi, and the others returned to the Parkway Academy's Grotto Heaven, they received news that Qin Hao had already returned from the Emperor's Star Mystic Realm. Furthermore, they saw the image of the Fatty stepping out of the myriad Dao's space, as well as his name on the leaderboard. The girls were naturally excited, and their hearts were filled with pride. They looked forward to the end of the ranking competition. As expected, the Tanglong Academy won the 94th place with their huge advantage at the beginning. However, the moment the Tanglong Academy's disciples stepped out of the myriad Dao's space, Li Wuxiang fell to the ground with a plop, his face pale. He was faintly worried that something impossible would happen, but it actually happened. Shi Chao wasn't here. After Li Wuxiang understood what had happened from the disciples who came out, his expression became even more ugly. He rushed to Qin Wanxiang in anger, wanting to take back Shi Chao's godhead. Unfortunately, Qin Wanxiang rejected him without hesitation, blocking him outside the door of the Dahua Academy's Grotto Heaven. Li Wuxiang, who was angry out of humiliation, said, "Just you wait," and left in a huff, returning to the Tanglong Academy's Grotto Heaven. Under the powerful spacetime laws, the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland's team competition ended in a short time. It was the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm's team competition. It was also the Myriad Dao's space, but the difference was that the laws were condensed for the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm's cultivators. You must be careful. Ding Ling is one of Li Wuxiang's proudest disciples. You already know how powerful she is. If you encounter her, don't try to be brave, understand? Don't worry, Dean. 300 years ago, we were not as good as her. Now, it's not certain who will win. We will definitely get a good result. Murong Qianhua said confidently. Also, I don't care what grudges you have with Fatty and Qin Si. After you enter, you must put the academy first. Don't bully Qin Si in any way. Otherwise, the old man will not let anyone go. Understand? Understood. Murong Qianhua's expression was slightly ugly. Chen Wanxiang's words were undoubtedly a public warning. Qin Si, you have an S-grade talent. The old man has given you special privileges. When necessary, you can disobey the commander's orders. At any time, you must protect your life. Yes, Dean. Chen Si was slightly stunned, but she immediately said gratefully. Chen Hao was also slightly surprised. He did not expect Chen Wanxiang to take such care of her. This relieved Chen Hao a lot. Otherwise, Chen Hao was a little worried that Murong Qianhua and the other two would deliberately target Si Xian. After all, Murong Qianhua was a commander. If he deliberately made things difficult for her, it would be very troublesome. Especially when she encountered an opponent, she might even become cannon fodder. But now, the special privileges bestowed by Chen Wanxiang eliminated this possibility. Not long after, the host's loud voice sounded. The Grand Mist Supremacy Realm's myriad Dao space condensed in the hands of 10,000 true immortal kings. The competition officially began. Chi chi chi. One by one, the grotto heavens connected to the core arena. The participants of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm turned into streams of light and directly disappeared into the myriad Dao space. Charge! Chi chi chi. Among the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm disciples of Parkway Academy, Chen Nan took the lead. He knew that when they stepped out of the myriad Dao space, his brother would definitely see them. Therefore, he had to do his best. For no other reason than to let his brother see him at his strongest. Chapter 1394. The team competition of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm had officially begun. Countless cultivators were paying attention to the Dark Horse Academies led by the University of Dahua. If these academies could maintain their Dark Horse status in the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm, then they would definitely be the true Dark Horse. After all, the team competition accounted for the greatest proportion of the Academy's rankings. Although the individual ranking competition had a certain impact on the Academy's rankings, for a first-rate academy, it would only have an effect if they entered the top 10,000. Otherwise, the impact would be minimal, and it would be difficult to change the Academy's ranking. However, the top 1,000 was very important for a first-rate academy that had hopes of being promoted to a top-tier academy. This was because having a top 1,000 expert was a necessary condition for a first-rate academy to be promoted to a top-tier academy. Whether it was the Daluo Golden Wonderland or the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm, it was possible. This meant that in the team competition, after excluding the major forces like the Shao family that did not participate in the competition, to enter the top 100 of all academies, one disciple must enter the top 1,000 in the individual competition. Otherwise, it would still be impossible to become a top-tier academy. This was an extremely honorable thing for any genius disciple. Moreover, it was indeed difficult to enter the top 1,000. After all, the individual competition was not like the team competition, where only academies and major forces could participate. The individual competition was for any cultivator in the great world of CND, the Daluo Golden Wonderland, and the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm. Countless disciples of reclusive experts could appear. Many times, a top-tier academy might not necessarily have a single cultivator who could enter the top 1,000. This was also why Chen Wanxiang still had no confidence in Chen Hao's ability to enter the top 1,000, even though he already knew a lot about Fatty. Quick! Everyone enter my mind's great world. We can't waste any time. Hurry! Yes! Chi! Chi chi chi! Murong Qianhua's body was surrounded by dazzling starlight. After stepping into the great world, he directly gave the order. In an instant, streams of light flashed past, and most of the cultivators directly entered Murong Qianhua's glabella. This was the strength of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm cultivators. Everyone had a great world in their mind, which was something that the Daluo Golden Wonderland cultivators could not compare to. However, Si Xian frowned slightly. Cici, let's go in. Don't worry, I won't do anything you don't want me to do. Murong Qianhua said as he gazed at Si Xian with eager eyes. Sorry, I'd better go by myself. It won't be much slower. I'll catch up. Chi. After a moment of hesitation, Si Xian chose to refuse. Although she knew that Murong Qianhua would not do anything to her and would not dare to do anything to her, Si Xian did not want to give him too much contact. Stepping into Murong Qianhua's mind meant that her every move would be watched by him. She didn't want to be watched by Murong Qianhua. Murong Qianhua frowned slightly and shook his head as he looked at Si Xian's rapidly advancing figure. Soon after, the starlight shone brightly and his figure also moved forward quickly. However, to his slight surprise, although his speed was faster than Si Xian's, it was only a little faster. When he reached the first barrier, he had only opened up a few breaths of flying distance. This made him shocked by Si Xian's terrifying progress in the past 300 years. At the same time, he was even more regretful that he could not capture Si Xian's heart. No, I can't lose confidence. Before she starts dual cultivation with him, I still have a chance. As for him, unless he is still so abnormal after stepping into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, I may not necessarily be worse than him. I can't lose. This time, I want to let everyone know that there are also geniuses like me, Murong Qianhua. Qi. Qi. Everyone, start comprehending with all your strength. Our goal is to enter the top 100. Buzz. The moment Murong Qianhua released all the cultivators, he directly entered the state of comprehension. Break. Qi. In less than 2 hours, Murong Qianhua, who was fully focused on comprehending, was the first to let out a slightly excited sound. Brother Murong is amazing. Big brother is amazing. Follow me. Amidst many praises, Murong Qianhua sent out waves of energy to wrap everyone, including Si Xian, and directly stepped through the first barrier. Good. At this time, Chen Wanxiang and the teachers and disciples of the College of Dahua also praised. Murong Qianhua's name appeared on the screen. Although he was not the first, he was in the top 100. This was indeed a very good start. Murong Qianhua is indeed the captain of the Starlight Squad. He is indeed amazing. Of course, can our captain be bad? He barely entered the top 100, and it's only the first level. It's just the beginning. It's nothing. Let's talk about it if he can have the last laugh. TSK, you are just in the Daoyuo realm. If you can still be so awesome after stepping into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, then you can say those sarcastic remarks. The disciples in the grotto heaven of the College of Dahua were buzzing with discussion. The factions were obvious. Murong Qianhua still had a lot of prestige due to the glory of the Starlight Squad. He still had many supporters among the cultivators in the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. However, as time passed, some of the cultivators who praised Murong Qianhua were speechless. Ao Qian, Ling Feng, Xue Fian, Wan Yishui, Chen Wanxiang, and even Chen Hao himself were slightly surprised. Even he did not expect Si Xian's performance to be so much better than expected. Murong Qianhua was only in the first 100 levels. In the first 100 levels, he had comprehended 44 levels. Tang Hu and Xian Yuanchen had comprehended about 20 levels each. Si Xian had comprehended 8 levels. Very few of the others were able to comprehend first. Murong Qianhua was indeed at the top. However, after the first 100 levels, Si Xian became the absolute main force. Out of every 10 levels, Si Xian would comprehend 50% of the levels. Moreover, with Si Xian's breakthrough, the speed of the College of Dahua's advancement was steadily maintained within the top 100. It even showed signs of sprinting into the top 50. Amazing, amazing. She is indeed Brother Fatty's woman. She is indeed our sister-in-law. Amazing. Brother Fatty, you haven't merged your yin and yang. That's really amazing. Ao Qian could not help but praise. Sister-in-law is really amazing. Ling Feng was also shocked. It could be said that they knew Si Xian very well. However, Si Xian's improvement made them feel like they did not know her at all. Even Chen Hao was the same. Just as Chen Wanxiang had said to Chen Hao that Chen Hao would be surprised by Si Xian's improvement, Chen Hao was indeed surprised at this moment. Am I the only one who is the worst? When Wani Shui heard everyone's praise for Si Xian, she bit her lips and blushed slightly. At this moment, she felt ashamed of her inferiority. Si Xian, Miao Xian, and the girls who had just appeared in the College of Parkway made her feel inferior. Unknowingly, feelings of inferiority spread in her heart. Chapter 1395. Sister Shui, you're not bad. If you weren't with me, you'd definitely be able to comprehend a lot. After all, you've listened to my general principles countless times. Moreover, we've been communicating for so many years. It's just that you're not as fast as me. Chen Hao's voice suddenly appeared in Wani Shui's mind. You don't have to comfort me. Wani Shui's face turned even redder. She didn't expect Chen Hao to be able to capture her emotions. What's there to comfort? I'm telling the truth. I think that Si Xian was able to comprehend so much because she was listening to my general principles. You listened even more, but because you were with me, you didn't show it. Think about it, didn't you comprehend many of the barriers? It's just that before you could fully comprehend them, I was the first to complete them. That seems to be the case. Wani Shui thought for a moment and was slightly surprised. Chen Nan. Parkway Academy. Suddenly, Chen Hao saw the name of the individual who had comprehended the barriers surging up the rankings. It's little Nan. Chen Hao was slightly excited. He already knew from Si Xian that Chen Nan and the others had already stepped into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. Now that he saw Chen Nan's name soaring up the rankings, he was naturally sure that it was his younger brother. Ling, and Du Jing are up too. However, their individual rankings shouldn't be too high, just as Chen Hao expected, although Chen Nan, Chen Ling, Du Jing, and the others had strong comprehension abilities, they were in a top academy where competition was fierce. Not only were there many geniuses, but they were also competing with each other. Naturally, their individual rankings would be slightly lower. However, Parkway Academy's speed of advancement was in the top 30, much faster than Dahua Academy. Chen Si. Is he actually this strong? It's only been 300 years, and his improvement is so shocking. Moreover, he's already been chosen by King Ying. He's far ahead, far ahead. I, Li Wuxiang, racked my brains and thought that I'd completely surpassed Dahua Academy. Who would have thought? Li Wuxiang originally wanted his disciple, Ding Ling, to get back at them in the team competition of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. He wanted to use the lives of Murong Qianhua and the others in exchange for Shi Chao's godhead. This was because he believed that Ding Ling was strong enough to do it. Shi Chao was the strongest disciple he had ever met in his life. As long as he could obtain his godhead, he would be able to control Shi Chao's new reincarnation cycle and take him under his command. After a few thousand years, Shi Chao would become another monstrous genius. But now, the Tanglong Academy led by Ding Ling couldn't even catch up to the Dahua Academy. His wishful thinking had failed. Very good, very good. I'm starting to regret it. On the rostrum, the Celestial River King could not help but speak up when he saw Si Xian's name on the 23rd place of the individual comprehension barrier. Celestial River King must be joking. Her comprehension ability can only be regarded as good. Her performance is so outstanding because she is only in a first-class academy and has no competitors. Besides, even if she is really strong, in front of the countless genius disciples of your Shao clan, she is nothing. Ha! Look at how nervous you are. I was just joking with you. As long as you want it, I can give up anything. Don't tell me it's just a disciple. Princess Ying shook her head slightly and did not say anything else. She was indeed very nervous about Si Xian. Was it just because they looked alike? Of course not. Although the origin aura on Si Xian's body was very weak, so weak that she would not be able to detect it if she did not examine it carefully, it was definitely there. It was the aura of her bloodline origin. It was also because Si Xian had this aura that Princess Ying was so sensitive to the Celestial River King's words. She was worried that the powerful Celestial River King would be able to sense it. After all, the Celestial River King was also very familiar with her origin aura. And the only origin bloodline that Princess Ying had spread out was the product of her and Yilan, Yi Xian. Of course, Princess Ying could sense that Xi Xian was not Yi Xian, but she was sure that it was related to Yi Xian. How could she not be nervous? The Celestial River King's Shao clan is really too strong. They are number one again. Yeah, they are number one in Daluo and Hongmeng. They are basically number one in the group competition. This is the foundation of the number one clan. When the Shao clan's team was the first to step out of the space of myriad daos, countless praises could be heard. The Celestial River King's Shao clan was the number one clan in the great world of CND. This made Chen Hao and the others understand how strong their foundation was. Princess Ying's Xian New Palace was only number 7 this time. Zhulu Academy was number 2, and Snowdrift Academy was number 4. Without a doubt, Zhulu Academy still retained their title as the number 1 academy. As for the Floating Snow Academy, one of the top 10 academies, if nothing unexpected happened, it would be ranked second. Parkway Academy. Pust. Pust pust pust. When the light spot representing Parkway Academy coincided with the core of the space of myriad daos, Chen Hao's eyes suddenly lit up. Then, he saw several figures in the air. The 16th place was the same as Parkway Academy's Daluo Golden Wonderland team competition. Brother. Senior brother. Boss. Big brother. Many figures that Chen Hao was familiar with appeared. However, Chen Hao and the other cultivators did not expect that Chen Nan and Ao Tian's brothers and sisters, led by Chen Nan, would look in the direction of Daohua Academy and shout in unison. Unfortunately, Chen Hao could not step out of the grotto heaven. Although the other cultivators were curious, they did not know who Chen Nan and the others were shouting for. Brother Fatty, are they shouting for you? Ao Qian, Ling Feng, and the others, who already knew about the relationship between Parkway Academy and Chen Hao, could vaguely guess and could not help but ask. That's my younger brother and many other brothers and sisters. Chen Hao had an excited expression as he stared at the figures who returned to their grotto heavens after just shouting. He spoke rather proudly. They are all very good. Ao Qian said. Indeed. However, when we step into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, we will be even stronger. Ling Feng continued. That's true. No, as the Monkey King, I must work hard. No matter what, I must become the number 1 general under Brother Fatty. With me around, do you think you can? Piece of cake. I just don't want to give up on certain things. Otherwise, the current me. Forget it, there's no point in saying more. Let's wait and see. Ao Qian said confidently. Che. Then let's wait and see. Ling Feng, who was already convinced by Fatty, would not let Ao Guang beat him. Fatty shrugged speechlessly and said, after this ranking competition, I should also step into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. Brother Fatty, you can't, right? You haven't reached the peak of the Daluo Golden Wonderland. If you step into the Hongmeng domain too early, it will be disadvantageous for your Yin spirit. Otherwise, I would have gone long ago. Chapter 1396. That's right. It's best to enter when you've all reached the Great Perfection realm. The best way is to adjust the cultivation realms of the Immortal Realm and the Great World of CND to the same level. You may not feel it now, but the more you go, the more obvious it will be. This is something that countless seniors have proven. Oh. There's such a saying. Yes, Brother Fatty. This really can't be rushed. Then we'll talk about it when the time comes. Chen Hao frowned slightly. He felt that he had been stuck in the Daluo Golden Wonderland for a long time, especially after experiencing the nirvana of his true self. At this moment, when he saw that his younger brother Chen Nan, Coiling Dragon, and the others had taken the lead to step into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, Chen Hao was a little impatient. Ha ha ha. Not bad, not bad, ha ha ha. Sword King Chen Taishu stroked his beard and laughed, his eyes showing a rare excitement. This made Miao Xian and Qing Yang, who were in the Zhulu Academy's Grotto Heaven, very surprised. It seemed that after seeing Fatty, their master's spirit and mood improved a lot. This was a situation that they had never seen before. Miao Xian didn't know that Fatty had become close to his master. Ha ha ha. They're all here, Nan, and the others even stepped into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm ahead of time, and their strength is very good, haha. In the immortal realm, Chen Wuliang burst out laughing almost the same as Sword King Chen Taishu. It seems that they really didn't come to the great world of CND together, otherwise, Nan, and the others wouldn't be so excited. Shui Mei said. Seeing them, I really feel that we're old. Han Mei said. How can that be? I'm still very young. As a father, I can't let my son surpass me. Surpass me, but not too fast, how shameful would that be? Work hard, we must work hard. Chen Wuliang, Shui Mei, and Han Mei became even more gratified and excited after seeing Chen Nan and the others. I've decided, it's time to leave Dunjia Academy. Ah. Don't be surprised. With my current realm and strength, entering a first-rate academy isn't a problem at all. It's even possible for me to enter a top-notch academy. You mean to look for how, No, we'll affect them. Just tell them not to worry about us. What I mean is to choose another powerful force. It's better for our cultivation. Chen Wuliang said. All right then, Qi. He's out. Ha ha ha. Chen Wanxiang said excitedly. Because of Xi Xian's explosive performance, the Grand Mist Supremacy realm of the University of Dahua had once again exceeded Chen Wanxiang's expectations. They had actually obtained 67th place, surpassing the results of more than 30 top academies. This was simply unimaginable before the start of the competition. Even if it can't become a top-notch academy, it can definitely become a top-notch first-rate academy. Ha ha ha. Congratulations, Brother Cheng. Congratulations, I really didn't expect your University of Dahua to be so strong. You're really lucky. As long as one of the top 1,000 appears in the individual ranking competition, you'll be able to step into a top-notch academy. You're really amazing. It's nothing, it's just luck. Our foundation is still lacking. We just happen to be a bit stronger this time. It's hard to say what will happen in the individual competition. Chen Wanxiang appeared modest on the surface, but his expression revealed unconcealable excitement as he responded to the congratulatory words coming from around him. Next to him, Li Wuxiang, who was at the entrance of the Grotto Heaven, had an ashen expression as he stared fiercely at the high-spirited Chen Wanxiang. Although the Tanglong Academy led by Ding Ling was also close to the core and might be able to enter the top 100, and combined with the results of the Daluo Golden Wonderland, whether it was the Daluo Golden Wonderland or the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, as long as one of the top 1,000 appeared in the individual competition, they might be promoted to a top-notch academy. However, he wasn't happy at all. Top 1,000. As long as one of the top 1,000, our University of Dahua will be a top-notch academy, haha. Top 1,000, this fat brother has hope. What do you mean by hope? Let's not talk about the others, but we've all seen this fat brother's terrifying strength with our own eyes. If he doesn't have hope of entering the top 1,000, I'll twist my head off and let you smash it like a watermelon. We can't be too sure. After all, the world is coming, and countless spirits of all things may appear in the individual competition. Moreover, at least half of the cultivators in the top 1,000 didn't belong to any major forces, but were disciples of some hidden masters. Yeah, before the competition starts, it's hard to say anything. It's better to be cautious. However, it's true that this fat brother has a high chance. Captain Murong also has a high chance. Yeah, that's true. As long as one of us enters the top 1,000, we'll all be treated much better. Let's pray. Is it that difficult to enter the top 1,000? Everyone's discussion made the fat man slightly puzzled. In his opinion, entering the top 1,000 was not a problem at all. It could be described as catching a chicken in the crotch of one's pants. It was something that was in the bag. His goal was to enter the top 10 with his sword principle. That's true. Being able to comprehend the Tao law doesn't mean that one's combat strength is awesome. Although Shi Chao is powerful, he's only in a first-rate academy. With my current strength, it's indeed not something that others can estimate, Qin Hao thought to himself. However, what they said makes sense. The world is coming, and spirits of all things like Shi Chao may really appear. I can't let my guard down. As for him, Qin Hao narrowed his eyes and glanced at Murong Qianhua, who looked a little solemn in the distance, with a touch of disdain. Such a love rival couldn't even arouse his fighting spirit. Si Xian could easily deal with him by herself. As for Tang Hu and Xian Yuanchen, who had jumped up and threatened to bet, they didn't dare to jump up now. If Qin Hao wanted to lower himself to their level, he would have mocked and ridiculed them. After the end of the team competition, the host announced a 3-day break. 3 days later, the individual ranking competition would still be held on Zhulu Peak. During these 3 days, the arbitration team would divide the participants into groups based on the information they had collected, arrange the competition process, and referees. After returning to his residence, Qin Hao wanted to apply to the dean to go to the palace where Parkway Academy was located to see his girls and siblings. However, before he could say anything, he was forcibly taken away by the beautiful teachers, Ruo Lan and Ruo Xian, in the name of special training before the competition. At the same time, the other teachers took away Murong Qianhua, Si Xian, Tang Hu, Xian Yuanchen, Wani Shui, Ao Guang, Ling Feng, Shui Fian, and the other strongest people of the 2 realms in Daihua Academy. It was also a special training before the competition. Moreover, they all stepped into the mind of the dean, Chen Wanxiang. Daihua Academy wasn't the only one who did this. It could be said that most of the academies did the same. This was also the usual practice before the start of the individual competition. Buzz! The space shook, and Qin Hao and the 2 beautiful teachers, Ruo Lan and Ruo Xian, appeared in the vast and boundless space. Chapter 1397. In the void, the aura of the heavenly Tao was countless times clearer than in the grand 1,000 worlds of the immortal emperors. The heaven and earth spirit qi was even thicker and purer. Qin Hao could clearly feel that he could directly absorb it without refining it. Moreover, he didn't feel any discomfort. The compatibility between the heaven and earth spirit qi was extremely high. Obviously, this was a pure vital essence that was specially condensed according to Qin Hao's aura so that Qin Hao could quickly replenish it without any hindrance. He did not need to waste time recovering his energy. Ruo Lan's words proved this point. Little brother, the 2 of us will accompany you for these 3 days. Don't waste your time. This is a space that we sisters have specially created for you in our strongest immortal artifact. The quintessence here is completely compatible with you. The laws of the world have been strengthened countless times. It will undoubtedly be of great help to your cultivation and comprehension. Of course, the most important thing is that the 2 of us can feed you moves. Ruo Lan looked directly into Qin Hao's eyes with her beautiful eyes and said with a sweet smile. Feed me moves. Why? You don't like it? Cough cough. Why would I? It's just that, it's only 3 days. I just stepped out of the space of myriad Tao not long ago. I think it's more important to meditate, don't underestimate our celestial artifact. Even the dean is ashamed of his inferiority. We can activate the space-time law 3,000 times. It can't be. Qin Hao was shocked. Do you think I'm lying to you? Of course, we borrowed the power of the dean's mind. Otherwise, with our cultivation, we would not be able to unleash the power of the celestial artifact to such an extent. Under the space-time law 3,000 times, that's 9,000 days. It's easy to comprehend the Tao of the space of myriad Tao, but using it is not something that can be done in a day. 20 years is too short. Moreover, for most of the top geniuses, they have basically surpassed the limits of their own realm. You are the same. Therefore, you can't rely on the realm of Tao to win. Absolute power, combat skills, tactics, and the unique skills that you are proficient in now are the key to victory. The only things that can be improved in a short period of time are absolute power and targeted tactics. After all, you have just reached the complete realm. That's true. Then I'll have to trouble you too. Chen Hao shrugged and cupped his fists. Why do I feel like you want to distance yourself from me? After hearing Chen Hao's words, Ruo Xian faintly smiled. She took a step closer and lifted her beautiful face, as if she wanted to see through Chen Hao. Cough cough. How could that be? Big sister Rulin, you're thinking too much. I didn't mean that. Fatty was slightly embarrassed. The beautiful teacher's senses are very sharp, and her attack seemed to be very fierce. Furthermore, she doesn't hold back at all. When she saw the fatty's abnormality, she immediately pointed it out. This seemed to be an extremely tempting thing for any man, but Chen Hao was rather annoyed. Are you done flirting? At this moment, the sexy and fiery Ruo Xian suddenly spoke up. She seemed rather impatient. If that's enough, then let's begin. Don't waste time, this is consuming a lot of energy every second. Xian, are you jealous? Ruolan glared at the unromantic Ruo Xian and said. Bah, I'm not interested. Is that so? Are you going to start? If not, I'm leaving. Alright. Brother, you should start refining your true origin first and raise your absolute power to your current limit. Chi. After Ruolan finished speaking, she directly went to Ruo Xian's side and retreated into the distance. At the same time, she said, when you're done refining, we sisters will take turns to spar with you. Good luck. Immediately, the two figures disappeared from Chen Hao's sight. Indeed, I should first refine my absolute power to its limit. Phew. Chen Hao took a deep breath and slowly merged his mind into his body. Chen Hao's realm had just reached the complete realm of, I am heaven and earth, I am heaven and earth. Indeed, he needed to refine his true origin. This was also the most direct way to increase his combat strength. Then, let's devour. Buzz. Chi chi chi. With a thought, Chen Hao directly merged into the state of mind of the berserk demon realm. He began to crazily devour the spiritual energy of the world that was completely compatible with him. Moreover, it was constantly being compressed in his body. At the same time, the general outline of the Great Tao began to resound in Chen Hao's mind. Chen Hao had to take the pressure of being in the top 10 of the sword principle seriously. Moreover, although he knew that he could not hide his actions from Ruolan and Ruo Xian, Chen Hao did not care. Immediately, golden lotus-like runes suddenly floated in his mind and condensed into mysterious runes that connected the heaven and earth. They began to devour the spiritual chi of heaven and earth crazily. A moment later, the thick and boundless heaven and earth spiritual chi began to fluctuate and gather towards Chen Hao at a faster and faster speed. Chen Hao's body, without any consciousness, began to expand slowly. What a fast devouring speed! Ruolan, look at him. Carefully sense his aura. Could it be that he's in the mad demon realm? It seems like it. No wonder he's devouring so fast. But doesn't the mad demon realm only appear when he's seriously stimulated? How would I know? You'll have to ask this little fatty. He's shrinking again. He's using the most direct, painful, and cruel method to refine his true origin. When Ruo Xian saw the fatty's gradually expanding body suddenly shrink, she understood that the fatty was directly devouring and compressing the spiritual chi to break through his limits. What a crazy guy, Ruolan was also extremely surprised. They had used this kind of cultivation method before, but they would definitely not use it unless it was absolutely necessary. This was because the pain was not something that ordinary people could endure. More importantly, it was very dangerous. Once the physical body's limit was estimated wrongly, the body would explode and die. If it was too small, the effect would be greatly reduced. Therefore, under normal circumstances, very few cultivators would use this method. After 4 hours, Chen Hao had undergone 9 cycles of expansion and contraction. the true origin around his body was once again compressed to the limit. What was amazing was that streams of true origin that seemed to have no attribute, but could transform into any attribute, constantly escaped from his pores. Because he had reached his limit, his pores seemed to be forcing out faint traces of blood, interacting with the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. His limbs, veins, organs, and every cell began to expand again. However, this time, the expansion speed was much slower than the previous 9 cycles. He's compressing the spiritual chi and expanding at the same time. It seems like, it's crazy. How can he not be crazy when he's in the mad demon realm? If I'm not wrong, his consciousness is only left with a strand of obsession, and it's an obsession that he has set. Before he completes the requirements of his obsession, he will become more and more crazy. Chapter 1398. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, that should be the case. I really didn't expect this little fatty to be so ruthless to himself. Even if he doesn't possess a powerful bloodline, his strength would still be greatly affected after his physical body was destroyed and reconstructed into a golden body. Let's see. If he can't hold on any longer, we'll help him. Ruolan and Ruoxian looked at the expanding Chen Hao from afar and communicated secretly. As time passed, Chen Hao grew bigger and bigger. The true yuan in his body became more and more terrifying. The energy fluctuations in the immortal artifact space became more and more intense. Not only did Ruolan and Ruoxian become more and more nervous, even Chen Wanxiang, who was providing energy for the immortal artifact space, was alarmed. Unfortunately, Chen Wanxiang couldn't see what was happening to Ruolan, Ruoxian, and Chen Hao. He thought that Ruolan and Ruoxian were taking the opportunity to extort some energy from him. If he knew that it was Chen Hao who was devouring the energy, he would be even more shocked than Ruolan and Ruoxian. Boom! Boom boom boom! Boom boom boom! The exquisite Taoist robe of the Taoist Academy on Chen Hao's body was actually torn apart by his swollen body and the vigorous and raging true essence aura, turning into strands of silk. Fortunately, Chen Hao had secretly used the Saint Artifact's soft armor before the start. Otherwise, he would probably have to be honest at this moment. As his robe exploded, Chen Hao's body began to tremble violently. In his demonic state, his expression became even crazier. It was as if he was enduring endless pain and could explode at any time. However, boundless heaven and earth spiritual energy continued to surge into his body. Ruolan and Ruoxian held their breaths nervously. Chen Hao's dantian, meridians, and every cell in his body were operating at their limits. Boundless true yuan surged violently in his body like a raging ocean. Roar! Suddenly, Chen Hao roared into the sky. Mysterious runes flew out from between his eyebrows and turned into halos that enveloped his body. Buzz! In an instant, the pores all over Chen Hao's body actually closed, and he finally stopped absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. However, in this extreme state, he actually used the power of the divine ability runes to forcefully compress himself like a vessel. Pain, unbearable pain. Chen Hao, who was in his demonic state, roared crazily. Boom! 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 Boom 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 boom! After several hours, Chen Hao's Dantian's Dantian True Yuan translation Dantian's Dantian suddenly, the energy that could make Chen's Dantian. Splash! At this moment, Chen Hao's Dantian seemed to have transformed into an endless sea. His meridians, internal organs, and cells were filled with true essence, which directly and rapidly fused into a true essence that was several times purer than before. The evolved true essence transformed into rivers and lakes that flowed through his meridians from all directions and converged into Chen Hao's Dantian, like 100 rivers flowing into the sea. At this moment, Chen Hao's mind had also entered a wonderful state. His demonic state had disappeared, and his mind seemed to be in a defensive state. His will was in his Dantian, and he was quietly feeling the endless comfort brought about by the increase in the quality of his true qi. Happiness came after suffering. It didn't take long for Chen Hao's body to return to its original size. His entire aura seemed to have disappeared, becoming one with the space. The pain all over his body had completely disappeared, and what replaced it was a feeling of power as if the world was under his control. Boom! A sword light suddenly flew out from Qin Hao's hand. Rumble! The sword light exploded. Heaven and earth shook. When Qin Hao entered Ruoxian's and Rulan's divine artifact to cultivate, the information of all the contestants was displayed on the huge display screen of the arbitration team through their respective tokens. This was the information that the major forces had filled in during the registration. It also included the information of the various tests and experience records of the cultivators in the great world of CND. This would be used as a preliminary assessment of combat power. It would be used for the individual ranking competition. The number of cultivators participating in the individual ranking competition was 10 times or even 100 times more than the group competition. That was because as long as one's cultivation level met the requirements, there were no restrictions. Anyone could participate. Because of this, the individual ranking competition was divided into 1,000 groups. The top 100 from each group would be selected. Being able to qualify meant that one had stepped into the top 100,000 in the great world of CND. 100,000 sounded like a large number. However, compared to the number of contestants, which was counted in hundreds of millions, it was definitely a powerful existence. Therefore, all the cultivators who could qualify were basically monstrous geniuses in the great world of CND. After the top 100,000 contestants were selected, they were divided into 10 groups again according to their performance. Each group had 10,000 people. The top 100 from each group would be selected again. This time, the top 100 would be the top 10,000 in the great world of CND. He succeeded, so quickly. How can this little fatty be so monstrous? Ruoxian looked at the dazzling sword light and felt the absolute power that it contained. She was shocked. I knew that he was very strong. However, I didn't expect him to be stronger than I expected. Now, do you believe me? Rulan said with a smile. Unless you show him, I won't believe it. Okay, I'll show you. However, don't be jealous. Rulan said confidently. Phew. Gently exhaling, Qin Hao's lips curled into a smile. This is my true strength. As expected, one can't cook without rice. Without the support of absolute power, it's impossible. Now, I have the confidence to suppress that girl. Qin Hao felt the surging power in his body. He was full of confidence. Only now did he realize how big the gap was between the peak of the late stage of the Daluo Golden Wonderland and refining himself to the peak of the peak of the peak. Originally, he didn't think there was much of a difference. However, now he knew that the difference was not small. However, he had done it in just one day. Of course, this was also the reason why he had accumulated so much power. Similarly, there was an endless supply of spiritual energy from heaven and earth that didn't require refining. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so simple. Who knew how long it would take to gather spiritual energy from heaven and earth? This was when there were sufficient spiritual items of heaven and earth. What if there were no spiritual items of heaven and earth? I can't waste it. It's a free lunch. I'll eat as much as I can. Chi. 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 Qin Hao suddenly moved. In an instant, the sound of air breaking was released from his hands. It turned into extremely mysterious sword light, violently and sharply attacking the air. He didn't hold back at all. Every attack condensed the strongest power. He only had one goal, which was to exhaust all the energy in his body as quickly as possible. Buzz! At this moment, the space shook. Rulan's figure suddenly appeared near Qin Hao. Chapter 1399. Qi. Rulan did not even greet him and directly attacked. However, Qin Hao was not surprised. He was very excited that Rulan had come in time to attack him. Qi. Qi. Qin Hao's attacks instantly became violent and sharp, twisting and turning, unsheathing and unsheathing his sword. One after another resplendent sword light after another was constantly emitted from his body. The places where they connected, there wasn't the slightest bit of sloppiness, like moving clouds and flowing water, continuous and unending. His fat body sometimes condensed into one, and sometimes twisted crazily. He exerted the power of his body and soared to the extreme. Facing Ruolan, who was several realms higher than him and was the genius of the first academy tens of thousands of years ago, Chen Hao did not have the slightest scruple. He did not have to worry that he would hurt her at all. What he needed to do was to unscrupulously display what he had learned, comprehended, and the strongest power to test and improve his combat strength. Ruolan, on the other hand, was feeding him at the right time, forcing Chen Hao to explode with more and more powerful attacks and defenses. Such a scene did not take long before Chen Hao was completely immersed in a state of battle to his heart's content. His pitch-black and deep eyes flickered with rays of bright light, extremely focused, and exquisite and sharp sword skills emerged one after another. Although the magical power and laws contained in them were very simple and low-level for Ruolan's cultivation, in Chen Hao's hands, they had the ability to turn something rotten into something magical. The seemingly unrelated sword Dao runes were actually linked and resonating with each other, erupting with power that was completely beyond his own realm. This alone was not enough to shock Ruolan. What really shocked her was that the absolute power contained in Chen Hao's body was even more vigorous than that of the monstrous geniuses in the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. Even an ordinary cutting path genuine immortal would be inferior to him. This was really incredible. The only explanation was that Chen Hao's physical talent was unbelievably strong. In the same realm, his absolute power was much more tyrannical and vigorous. Why only use sword Dao? As far as I know, you are not a pure sword puppet. Although your attacks are almost flawless, they do not have the pure sword Dao consciousness of a true sword cultivator. Therefore, this is not your strongest power. Just do as you please and don't be limited to the sword. Oh, that's fine. During the battle, Ruolan, who had a powerful cultivation base and was knowledgeable, eventually discovered Chen Hao's weakness and reminded him. Chen Hao pondered for a moment and did not insist. At the same time, he was also shocked by how sharp Ruolan's eyes were. After all, his sword skill could be said to be a combination of sword force and sword will. It could be said that there were no flaws, at least for his current level. However, Ruolan still saw through his problem. Indeed, he was not a true sword puppet. Although his sword skills and sword will had achieved that, every time he attacked or dispelled Ruolan's attack, there would be abhijna absolute art that did not belong to the category of sword skills appearing in his mind. This was what Ruolan meant when she said that he did not have a pure sword will. At this time, Chen Hao really didn't have to insist. After all, this was his training after advancing to the consummate level, so it should be all round. Wang! Life-taking scissors kick. Chen Hao's body suddenly trembled, and he shouted loudly. Amidst the endless sword light, he suddenly used the great teleportation art to close the distance between him and Ruolan. Then, he used the deadly scissor kick, a unique skill of the martial arts world in close combat. Chi! Chi! In an instant, his legs were like a pair of scissors, opening and closing abruptly. Every time he opened and closed his legs, he would release an extremely terrifying amount of Dao Law energy, which transformed into countless afterimages, changing from various angles as he ferociously and violently kicked Ruolan. Good! Ruolan shouted softly and suddenly stretched out her slender hands, agilely forming two beautiful incantations in front of her chest. She suddenly stretched out her hands, one on the left and one on the right. Amidst the endless afterimages, she broke through layers of Dao Law and directly grabbed Chen Hao's ankles. What? Chen Hao was shocked. He wasn't shocked by Ruolan's strength, but by how could Ruolan suddenly be so shameless? Was this still considered feeding him moves? Her slender hands that suddenly broke through layers of Dao Law and forcibly immobilized him like steel bars and iron hoops. It was obvious that she had used a power that was completely beyond her realm. This was called bullying. After all, this was feeding him moves. Even if Ruolan didn't seal her realm, she should control her power to the same level as his. Otherwise, Ruolan could directly crush Chen Hao with the absolute power of her realm. How could she feed him moves? Lock. Pa. Pa. But before Chen Hao could be shocked for long, Ruolan, who used her powerful strength to grab Chen Hao's ankles, suddenly stuck to Chen Hao's body like an octopus and wrapped around Chen Hao. This made Chen Hao's eyes widen, and he was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Golden snake clinging hands. Back then, when Chen Hao fought Helian Wuzi on the arena for the first time, it was a rogue technique that defeated the strong with the weak. And at this moment, a great beauty, a dignified teacher, who had attracted countless geniuses to bow down to her, was actually using it on him. Chen Hao was a little dumbfounded. Because Ruolan's face was facing Chen Hao's feet, Ruolan's slender legs wrapped around Chen Hao's waist, as well as the view under her skirt, were all seen by Chen Hao. Her plump buttocks were right in front of his eyes. Her soft and smooth body was stuck to his body just like that. Waves of tempting virgin body fragrance assaulted Chen Hao's nose. Seduction. Seduction. This was definitely a naked seduction and provocation. Ancient martial arts technique, golden snake clinging hands, a peerless technique that allows the weak to defeat the strong. You have to sense it carefully. If you can get rid of me with the same power, you win. Pa. Pa. Ruolan suddenly said. As she spoke, Ruolan's body suddenly wrapped around Chen Hao's waist again, and she was now face to face with him. At this moment, even if Chen Hao's skin was extremely thick, he still blushed. What kind of scene was this? Her beautiful face was so close, her deep, snow-white cleavage, and he could almost see the full appearance of the two jade bunnies. How could he endure this? How shameless, how shameless. You actually secretly mastered the immortal illusionary heart sutra. You actually used it on the little fatty, student. Are you jealous? Hee hee. If you do this and others know about it, where are you going to put your face? You know it, I know it, he knows it, who else would know? Moreover, I only used it on him. Alright. I really don't know how you've been bewitched by him. You're hopeless. Is it really worth it? I don't know. I'm just following my heart. What Chen Hao did not know was that at this moment, Ruolan and Ruo Xian were standing side by side, looking at him seductively as he rolled on the ground. The immortal illusionary heart sutra was the same as the red dust heart sutra. It was also a powerful technique that was used to control emotions. When it was cultivated to a high level, it could form all kinds of emotional illusions. Moreover, it was completely derived from the other party's state of mind. Unless the person's state of mind was stronger than the caster, otherwise, they would not be able to discover it. Chapter 1400. In reality, all Ruolan did was to grab Chen Hao's ankles with both hands and seduce him with the golden snake's sticky hand. Everything that happened after that was an emotional illusion that Chen Hao had conjured up in his mind. What Chen Hao would do would depend entirely on what kind of emotion Ruolan was using. At this moment, Ruolan was obviously activating lust. If nothing went wrong, Chen Hao and Ruolan in the illusion would evolve into endless lust, only then would Chen Hao's soul origin appear in the fusion of soul and body. That would mean that Ruolan had made Chen Hao reveal his true self. However, Chen Hao, who was entangled with a conflicted and embarrassed expression, suddenly moved. Under the same absolute power, he became even more of an octopus than Ruolan. Under Ruolan's lockdown, he deftly locked himself in place. Ah! No way! Ruolan and Ruo Xian widened their eyes in shock. Chen Hao had used the golden snake's sticky hand as well. Moreover, he was more skilled and proficient than the illusory Ruolan. He easily locked himself in place. Chi! While Ruolan was still in shock, Chen Hao, who had successfully locked himself in place, suddenly shook his body and teleported away. Fuck, no way. At this moment, Ruolan's emotional illusion collapsed. Chen Hao could clearly see Ruolan standing next to Ruo Xian. However, Ruolan was nowhere to be seen. What a powerful emotional illusion. If I didn't happen to be proficient in the golden snake's sticky hand, wouldn't I? The astute Chinhao instantly understood the effects of Ruolan's emotional illusion and the consequences it would cause. Teacher Ruolan, what are you doing? Chinhao said with a conflicted expression. It's just an illusion. Why are you so nervous? Do you think I'll eat you? I didn't expect you to be so proficient in ancient martial arts. You're even proficient in the golden snake's sticky hand. Xian, why don't you spar with him? Ruolan blushed and changed the topic, pushing Ruo to the front. After all, Ruolan was still a virgin. It was fine if she succeeded, but it was too embarrassing for her to be exposed before she even succeeded. Don't talk nonsense. She only wants to know if your original appearance is the same as the one she saw in your eyes. Because she saw someone in Zhulu Academy who looked exactly like you. It's that simple. If I let you see, then show your true self. If you don't, then don't waste time. Just make your move. Chi. Ruo straightened her proud chest and coldly stared at the fatty as she said straightforwardly. As she spoke, her entire aura began to vibrate. Unlike Ruolan, she had actually sealed her realm to the Daluo Golden Wonderland. Qin Tianhe. Chinhao was slightly stunned. He immediately understood who Ruo was talking about. Indeed, anyone who had seen the image drawn by Ruolan would be shocked when they saw Zhulu Academy's Qin Tianhe. Are you him, or is he you? When Ruo saw Chinhao's expression, she immediately looked straight at Chinhao and asked, forcefully. I don't know. Chinhao hesitated for a moment and shrugged. What do you mean? Ruolan returned to Chinhao's side and asked. The situation is a little complicated. You'll know after I fight with him, brother, can't you be clearer? Ruolan frowned slightly and asked with a trace of worry. Ruolan had an indescribable feeling when she first saw the fatty. Although they still hadn't interacted much, Ruolan dared to use that kind of emotional illusion on Chinhao. It was enough to show how important Chinhao was in her heart. Just like what she said to Ruo, the 3 generations watch wasn't a joke. Otherwise, Ruolan would never use that kind of illusion on a man, even if it was all an illusion. It was also because of this kind of love at first sight that Ruolan was really worried about Chinhao. What would it mean after the fight? Qin Tianhe was the top student of Zhulu Academy, the first academy, the #1 expert in the Daluo Golden Wonderland and the direct disciple of the Star River King. He was very likely to be the #1 individual in this year's Daluo Golden Wonderland. Although Ruolan's sharp eyes could see that Chinhao was much more honest than Chinhao, strength was strength. And now, Chinhao's answer was obviously not as simple as a doppelganger. This. I really can't say. I don't know how to say it. Chinhao scratched his head awkwardly. He couldn't stand Ruolan's gaze. Qin Tianhe is your life, and you are the main body, right? Ruo asked again. Yes, the situation is complicated now. In other words, his independent consciousness has escaped the influence of the origin, right? Yes. Chinhao didn't expect the big-breasted Ruo to speak so directly. He is now the direct disciple of the Star River King. The Star River King naturally saw that he was just one of the 9 lives and accepted him as his direct disciple. Naturally, the Star River King cut off your origin link. Otherwise, an ordinary true immortal king wouldn't be able to do it. Is that right? Yes. Chinhao had to answer again. He looked at Ruo with a little surprise. Didn't they say that big-breasted people had no brains? It didn't apply to Ruo at all, so either you die, or he dies. Only in this way can you unite the origin. When you die, he fuses with you. His thoughts take over, and you just become part of his consciousness. When he dies, you fuse with him and take back your origin. Right? It should be. In fact, there is no life and death between you two. After the fusion, you are still yourself. The only difference is which one of you has the dominant consciousness and has chosen a different path. You are just like different people. That's the case. However, his way of thinking is not what I want. Thus, I absolutely cannot do that, Qinhao said. That's natural. Independent thinking, different experiences, people and things that are important to you, may not be worth mentioning to him. What you cherish may be discarded like a pair of worn-out shoes, but these are the most important things. Oh. What is the most important thing? Tao. Tao. Yes. The highest realm of the 9 lives profound technique is completely independent and equal. Any life is equal. There is no such thing as the original body and the avatar. No one can control the other with their origin. Only a life and death battle can be carried out. The dead will be fused with the living. In the end, the one who can survive is the strongest. This is the choice of the strongest Tao, not the choice of emotions. The Tao is ruthless, and the goal is to become stronger. Amazing! Qinhao said in surprise. Xian, how do you know so much about the 9 lives profound technique? I have never heard you talk about it. Ruolan looked at Ruoxian in surprise and asked. She was the one who knew Ruoxian the best, but at this time, Ruoxian's look and aura made her a little stunned. Chapter 1401. I know a lot of things. What's there to say? Ruoxian glanced at Ruolan and said. Then, she turned to Qinhao and said, how many lives do you have? I think it's not just Qin Ritian and Qin Tianhe, right? Yes. Qin Ritian is my 8th life and also my last life. Qin Tianhe is my 2nd life and the first life that I gave birth to. Other than you, Qin Ritian, and Qin Tianhe, where are the other lives? With your current strength, I'm afraid you're no match for Qin Tianhe. The best way is to integrate the other lives and increase your strength. As for the 9 lives profound technique, I don't think it's suitable for you to continue cultivating it. Otherwise, this wouldn't have happened. That's right. Xian is right. This Qin Tianhe is very strong. My current aura is still inferior to his. Qinhao frowned slightly. Previously, both of them thought that Qinhao was inferior to Qin Tianhe. Qinhao could understand this. After all, Qin Tianhe was the chief disciple of the top academy, Zhulu Academy. On the other hand, Zhulu Academy was only a first-rate academy. There was no comparison at all. However, now that Qinhao had completely released his aura, Ruoxian and Ruolan should be able to sense it. After all, they were top geniuses tens of thousands of years ago. Moreover, they had entered the top 100 of the great world of CND when they were in the Daluo Golden Wonderland and the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm. They should have a good understanding of the top genius's strength. However, they still thought that Qinhao was inferior to Qin Tianhe. His aura is obviously much stronger than yours. This is the truth. During the group test, when he led the disciples of Zhulu Academy out, although it was only for a moment and he restrained himself, he still gave off an unfathomable feeling. The power of faith in his body is terrifying. Not to mention the Daluo Golden Wonderland, even the top geniuses in the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm are not as strong as him. Moreover, I can see that he might have even greater hidden strength. I've always been good at reading people. Ruolan said. Lan is right. So powerful. Qinhao's expression turned serious as he muttered, from the looks of it, he must have truly fused the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th animus. Huh? Ruolan was shocked. Ruoxian also frowned slightly. Are you sure? Yes. It happened during the group competition. Furthermore, he did something and arranged for my students to be near Zhulu Academy, while our Hua Academy was on the other side. Up until now, only 7th Anima is still around. He escaped because he didn't participate in the group battle. As for 7th Anima, it just so happens that he's in the same situation as you, Sister Ruoxian. Back then, due to certain reasons, I originally wanted 7th Anima to completely replace me and do certain things. Therefore, I'm practically on the same level as him. My control over him is negligible. Qinhao said. After a slight pause, he continued, However, based on my estimations, 7th anima will probably still be in the same group as Qin Tianhe during the individual competition. Then wouldn't Qin Tianhe succeed and become even stronger? Ruolan asked. If that's the case, then he'll naturally become even stronger. Ruo Xian said, however, the individual competitions groups and opponents aren't controlled by humans. It should be fine. Right, I actually forgot about that when I was nervous. Ruo Xian speechlessly glared at Ruolan and continued, he's currently fused with 5 lives, while you're only at 2. If he can fuse with your 7th anima, then the difference in strength between the two of you might be able to shrink. As the original body, if you can shake his seal on his origin aura during battle, then you have a chance of winning. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome. Which academy is your 7th anima in? Tell me. This, I'm not sure. I only know that he came to the great world of CND. If nothing unexpected happens, he should be participating in the ranking competition. You should at least know his name, right? This. I really don't know. His surname should be Chen, Qinhao said awkwardly. He'd obtained all the information about the 7th anima from Si Xian, and Si Xian had obtained it from the other girls. After the 7th anima left for the great world of CND in a fit of pique, there was no more information. Even when he was in the immortal realm, he refused to communicate with anyone. Therefore, he couldn't be sure of the situation after the 7th anima entered the great world of CND. What name he used, whether he disguised his aura, and so on, were all unknown. What Qinhao didn't know was that although the 7th anima had refused to contact Qin Shui, Chen Nan, and even Yilan, in the end, he still contacted Nurse Lu Hui, who he was closest to. There was no helping it. Nurse Lu Hui was the one who understood the 7th anima the most. She'd been a part of Qin Chi's growth, cultivation, and so on. She could be said to be the most important person in Qin Chi's heart. Similarly, Qinhao was also extremely important in Nurse Lu Hui's heart. Although he couldn't replace Qinhao's original body, he contained a very deep affection and familial affection. After all, Lu Hui had single-handedly raised him. It was also because of this that Lu Hui had left alone after entering the great world of CND. She couldn't be at ease with the 7th anima. You don't know anything about your 7th anima? Ruo Xian was a bit speechless. This. After the 7th anima was born, I left. Furthermore, he entered the great world of CND on his own. I really didn't have any information about him. Anyway, increasing my strength is the most important thing. Whether it's the 7th anima or the 2nd anima, since they've come this far, I'll give them a fair fight. Don't worry, just because his aura is strong doesn't mean he's strong. I have confidence. Qinhao said. At this point, Qinhao could naturally see that Ruolan and Ruo Xian were truly concerned about him. Therefore, he didn't hold back and directly expressed his strong confidence. His pitch-black eyes shone with an extremely resolute light as an invisible aura was quietly born. At this moment, Qinhao's aura didn't increase in the slightest. However, Ruolan and Ruo Xian suddenly looked at Qinhao with astonishment. Aura. Invincible aura. It was formless and didn't have any substantial pressure, but it directly shook one's soul. It felt completely different. This is your real aura. Ruolan and Ruo Xian looked at Qinhao in surprise. Is there a difference? Qinhao didn't feel much about it. In his opinion, he was just displaying his confidence. There's a big difference. Although the strength of your aura hasn't changed, it's like the difference between a treasured sword with and without a sword soul. You tell me, is the difference big? Ruo Xian said. Little brother, your surname is Chen. Your real appearance is Qin Tianhe's appearance, right? Yes. Then why did you disguise yourself like this? Don't you know that any disguise will more or less affect one's luck? I know, but I have no choice. Chapter 1402. Although Ruolan and Ruo Xian asked for the reason, Qinhao did not explain too much. Even though Qinhao could feel that the two of them treated him well, he could not tell them about ancient chaos. Ruo Xian and Ruo Lan could only help Chen Hao by sparring with him. Therefore, after the three of them finished talking, Ruo Xian, who was already prepared, started to fight Chen Hao. She, who had sealed her own level, showed no mercy. Chen Hao could only fight with all his might against this girl from tens of thousands of years ago. Boom! 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 In an instant, a series of violent explosions were heard as the two of them attacked each other fiercely. This made Chen Hao, who longed for a real, hearty battle, feel very good. Ruo Xian did not deliberately go easy on him, and she was not as gentle as Ruo Lan. This made Chen Hao feel as if he was in a life and death battle, and he was facing the test of life and death at every moment. Such a scene made Ruo Lan, who was watching the battle, tremble in fear. She was sweating for the crazy battle between the two of them. It had to be said that this was the real feeding of moves and a real battle. Only in this way could Chen Hao familiarize himself with his new strength and better comprehend the real mysteries of the various divine powers and laws. Only in this way could he grasp the best way to use the various ultimate techniques and the best timing to sharpen his battle skills in the ever-changing real battles. In the beginning, Chen Hao, who had just increased his absolute strength, was unable to fully unleash it. However, following Ruo Xian's incisive, berserk and exquisite attacks, after several consecutive dangerous situations, Chen Hao threw away all distracting thoughts and completely immersed himself in the battle. The more Ruo Xian fought, the more surprised she was. Ruo Lan became more nervous and excited as she watched. No matter what, they did not expect that Chen Hao's combat skills, especially his attainments in ancient martial arts, were not inferior to Ruo Xian's. It was a simple and ordinary divine ability. However, after Chen Hao executed it with his ancient martial arts, the power it unleashed was far beyond their imagination. Moreover, as time passed, Chen Hao was always able to use the most appropriate energy attribute at the most appropriate time to execute the most appropriate divine ability. But this still wasn't the most shocking thing. What shocked the two of them the most was Chen Hao's astonishing recovery ability. It must be known that when Chen Hao finished devouring the world's spiritual energy, the entire space had stopped condensing the world's spiritual energy for Chen Hao to directly devour. But now, in such an intense battle, the consumption was undoubtedly enormous, but Chen Hao's essence, energy, true essence, and physical strength were becoming fiercer and fiercer as he fought, as if they were inexhaustible. It was as if they were not inferior to Ruo Xian. How could he compare with Ruo Xian? Although Ruo Xian had sealed her own realm and limited the power she could release, the amount of energy in her body did not change. It was completely understandable that she could maintain such a state in battle. But Chen Hao could do it too. And he was recovering himself in the middle of a battle. This was really unbelievable. Time passed by minute by minute. Ruo Xian, who was completely acting as a sparring partner, had no choice but to raise the realm of her divine ability again and again. With her limited realm, she transformed it into infinite divine abilities and continuously attacked Chen Hao. Such a situation was inevitable for Chen Hao to encounter in the ranking competition. Many geniuses had already surpassed the limits of their own realms. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, when the battle had lasted for 7 days and 7 nights, even Ruo Xian felt that she could not continue. Chen Hao was still full of true essence, but his essence, energy, and spirit were exhausted. He could no longer condense a decent divine ability. The two of them lay on the ground, panting. This was a real battle that allowed Chen Hao to fight to his heart's content. It also allowed Ruo Xian and Ruo Lan to see Chen Hao's true strength. However, this was only the beginning of the battle. When Chen Hao had just recovered to his peak state, Ruo Lan, who had long been unable to hold herself back, attacked again. Unlike the first time, she had sealed her own realm like Ruo Xian and attacked without restraint. Ruo Xian, on the other hand, had recovered to her original realm to support the two of them in the battle of life and death. Under the space-time law, time passed quickly. Finally, the 3 days in the outside world were up. Buzz! Buzz buzz buzz, 3 streaks of light flashed past. Chen Hao, Ruo Lan, and Ruo Xian finally escaped from between Chen Wanxiang's eyebrows. At this moment, Dean Chen Wanxiang, Pavilion Master Mo Shilin, and many teachers and disciples of the University of Dahua all looked at Chen Hao. Many of them gasped in shock. The fatty was still a fatty, but his aura was several times stronger. Even with the space-time law, it was impossible to have such a terrifying improvement in just 3 days. However, the absolute power displayed by the fatty's aura was several times stronger. What was even more terrifying was that the fatty's fierce and determined gaze made the cultivators of the Daluo Golden Wonderland feel an enormous pressure. It was like an unclimbable mountain that they could only look up to. Even Murong Qianhua and the other primordial chaos supremes felt a sense of reluctance to fight him from the bottom of their hearts. Momentum. General momentum. General momentum of invincibility. Good. Good. I didn't expect you to improve so much in just 3 days. Not only did your true origin advance to another level, but you've also honed the general momentum of invincibility. Ha! Ruo Xian and Ruo Lan are really good. This old man is ashamed of his inferiority. Chen Wanxiang said. Dean, you're too modest. You're already the dean of a top school. You can't belittle yourself in the future. We didn't actually do anything. We just fought with him. Ruo Lan said. Already? There's no suspense. When the time comes, you might all be shocked. Ruo Xian said coldly. As she spoke, she glanced at the fatty. Her eyes were full of extraordinary splendor, blooming with unconcealable admiration. Good. If that's the case, I'm looking forward to it even more. The dean was surprised and pleasantly surprised. Chen Hao shrugged and went directly to see Xian, Ao Qian, and the others. Then, under Chen Wanxiang's lead, they went to Deer Chaser Peak. It's about to start. Wake up, you two, Buzz. After the new Sword King Chen Taishu finished speaking, Miao Xian and Qing Yang's voices appeared in front of him. Master doesn't ask for much. Top 50. You just need to be in the top 50. Top 50. Master, are you kidding? Miao Xian said in surprise. With my junior sister and my strength, we have a chance of being in the top 3, right, Master? Qing Yang smiled and said confidently. If it's the level of the previous batch, or the level of the previous 100 batches, the two of you have a great chance of being first or second. But now that the Grand Mist era has arrived, this batch is much stronger. There are also too many unknowns. Just the aura of the applicants collected by the token alone has revealed many monstrous masters who don't belong to any school or faction. Chapter 1403. Master, could it be that we didn't even get a seed? Qing Yang frowned. That's not the case. It would be too exaggerated if the two of you weren't in the top 1,000. What about that fatty? Miao Xian couldn't help but ask. After asking, her face turned red. It was obvious that her subconscious mind had affected her. Of course he is here. Master said that he is not worse than the two of you. Moreover, he has a lot of room for improvement. Yes, Master is very satisfied with this too, Su. Ha! This year's individual ranking competition is destined to be the most exciting one. Don't be discouraged because of Master's words. The reason why Master said top 50 is because he doesn't want you to fight so hard for a ranking. That's meaningless. As long as you do your best, it is possible for you to enter the top 10 or even higher. After all, the token only counts one's aura and not one's combat power. Master, we understand. That's good. Let's go. Chi chi chi. Chen Tai-su brought the two of them into the air and stepped onto Zhilu Peak. Seed. Damn. Amazing. Brother Fatty is mighty. Awesome. Too awesome. Brother Fatty is actually a seed. By the time Chen Wanxiang led the group to Deer Chaser Peak, Chen Hao's name, portrait, and information about his school and group were all displayed at the bottom of a huge pagoda stele at the entrance. Even though it was at the bottom of the pagoda, it was enough to shock the people from Daihua School. A seated player. Moreover, He was the first seeded player in Group 954. Top 1000. Brother Fatty's combat power is estimated to be 954. Ha ha ha. Yes, yes. Although it is not the real combat power, the evaluation of the judges is not too far off. If nothing goes wrong, Brother Fatty will definitely enter the top 1000. Definitely. This also means that our Daihua school has the necessary conditions to enter the top school. Not only the students, but even the teachers of Daihua school were surprised. The individual ranking competition was divided into 1,000 groups. Each group had 10 seeds. Among the 10 seeded players, the first ranked player was a member of the top 1000 according to the information. Chen Hao was the first seeded contestant in Group 954, which meant that he was ranked 954 according to the evaluation. The other 9 seeded players in the group were the top 10 experts that had been evaluated by the group. While everyone was pleasantly surprised, only Ruolan and Ruoxian shook their heads slightly. They didn't seem to care about everyone's surprise. This was indeed the case. After more than 8 years of fighting in the immortal artifact space, no one knew Chen Hao's strength better than the two of them. 1,000 strong. Compared to the fatty's true battle prowess, this was nothing. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been so certain that Chen Wanxiang was already the dean of a top academy, and they also wouldn't have said that everyone was shocked. This was just a combination of Chen Hao's performance in the team competition and the aura feedback from the token. Most importantly, the information was from 3 days ago. Today, after 3 days, just the increase in absolute strength alone was not something that the current ranking could compare to. Only around 900. Chen Hao was surprised, not by his own strength, but by the strength of this year's contestants. But it doesn't matter. Whether I'm a seeded contestant or not, I don't need to participate in the initial group elimination matches. It's meaningless. Fatty, look over there. Si Xian suddenly transmitted her voice, Xiao Nan 923. Murong Qianhua is in the same group as Xiao Nan. What a coincidence. Chen Hao was surprised. He looked over and saw the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm's pagoda monument at a glance. Chen Nan's name was the first in Group 923, and the second-seeded contestant following closely behind Chen Nan was Murong Qianhua. Chi. Brother. Boss. Fatty. It was also at this moment that a group of figures suddenly arrived at lightning speed. Before they arrived, their excited voices entered Chen Hao's ears. Brother. Chen Nan, who was the fastest, threw herself into Chen Hao's arms like a child, and her eyes were filled with excitement. Good. Xiao Nan, you're stronger than your brother. Ha. Chen Hao hugged Chen Nan tightly, patted her back, and separated. He stared at the mature Chen Nan and said excitedly. Chen Nan's aura was very strong, which made Chen Hao feel gratified. At the same time, he became more eager to step into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. He was the big brother, the boss, and had the responsibility to protect his brothers and sisters. How could he fall behind in terms of cultivation level? Boss. Master. How? Fatty, Pan Long and the other girls arrived one by one and looked at Chen Hao excitedly, but they all retained a trace of restraint. Under the surprised gazes of the people from the University of Dea, they did not act like Chen Nan, who had arrived first. Buzz. Chen Hao directly released a wave of energy, which instantly shielded all of them temporarily and connected their minds. The people from the University of Dea, who were already a little dumbfounded and staring in shock, suddenly fell silent. It was only at this moment that they came to their senses. Oh my god, aren't they all the top geniuses from Parkway Academy, Daluo Golden Wonderland, and Grand Mist Supremacy Realm? Why do they all know Fatty Bro? Anne. Did you hear that? They call Fatty Bro boss, master, bro. And the way those beautiful girls look at Fatty Bro. Their expressions were filled with disbelief. Parkway Academy, in the team competition, especially in the Daluo Golden Wonderland, could be said to be in the limelight. Because of the huge number of beautiful girls, it attracted the attention of everyone. How could the people from the University of Dea not see it? But now, they were all excitedly appearing in front of Fatty Bro. Moreover, with one look, it was obvious that Fatty Bro was the core of all of them. Even Chen Nan, Itoda, Pan Long, Du Jing, and the others, who were all geniuses from the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, were no exception. Xiao Nan, isn't that Chen Nan? He's the top seed in the same group as Brother Murong. Ah. That's right. His name, profile picture, and the academy he's from are all the same. Chen Nan, seems to be Fatty Bro's underling. Someone in the crowd suddenly noticed Chen Nan, who was on the Grand Mist Supremacy Realms list, and discussed. This made everyone's gaze involuntarily turn to Murong Qianhua. Murong Qianhua, who was a little proud of being able to become a seed player, had his face darkened. Fatty Bro's underling was ranked in front of him. How could he show his face? This was really a blow to him. It's just aura, just aura. How can I be inferior to his underling? I can definitely make it to the top 1000. I'm the captain of Starlight, the strongest team on planet Great Hua. My combat strength can't be measured by aura. Although the evaluation of the arbitration team doesn't differ much every year, there is always a person who differs greatly. And I, Murong Qianhua, am such a person. Murong Qianhua roared in his heart. Xian Yuanchen and Tang, who also had gloomy faces, and their faces were dark. Now, especially when they saw so many top geniuses and beautiful girls from Parkway Academy coming to find Fatty Bro, and Ruolan and Ruoxian specially training Fatty Bro, they had to admit that Fatty Bro, who was one level lower than them, had suppressed them in all aspects. Chapter 1404. Dean Qin Wanxiang's ears perked up, and his mind had even silently fused into the barrier around Qin Hao. However, to his surprise, a dignified true immortal king like him was actually unable to capture the information that Qin Hao and the others were communicating with each other. Mo Shilin, Ruoxian, Ruolan, and the other experts were similarly shocked. They also couldn't hold back their curiosity and wanted to eavesdrop on Qin Hao and the others' conversation. However, like the dean, they couldn't obtain anything. This made everyone feel that the fatty's concealment ability was incredible, and they also looked forward to Qin Hao's performance in the following individual ranking competition. After a few minutes, Qin Hao finally removed the seal. He smiled and excitedly introduced Chen Nan, Qin Shui, and the others to Qin Wanxiang. At the same time, Qin Hao also introduced Ao Qian, Ling Feng, Shui Fian, and the others to the others. Wan Yishui handed them over to Si Xian, who quietly explained to the girls. Just as everyone was about to temporarily bid farewell to Qin Hao and return to Parkway Academy's team, the space rippled, and 3 figures directly appeared in front of everyone like ghosts. Sword King. At this moment, countless people instantly cried out in surprise. Greetings, Senior Chen. Even Qin Wanxiang and the others hurriedly bowed after a short moment of surprise. Greetings, Senior Chen. The young disciples all bowed respectfully. No need to be so polite. Chen Taishu smiled and nodded slightly at Qin Hao. His gaze swept over Chen Nan, Qin Shui, Qin Yan, Hu Meinyang, Bailey Ningbing, and the others, and he kept nodding. His gaze was filled with the feeling of a senior examining a junior. Chen Nan was fine, but Qin Shui and the others were a little embarrassed by his gaze. They all lowered their heads, and they were even more surprised. This was one of the existences that all cultivators in the great world of CND had to look up to. Why was he so concerned about them? At the same time, the girls also noticed another pair of eyes with faint hostility and examination. It was the eyes of a peerless beauty with an extremely powerful aura. Naturally, it was Miao Xian. In addition, everyone realized that Qin Yang, who was smiling but standing proudly like a sword, had many similarities with Chen Nan's aura. Qin Yang was indeed looking at Chen Nan with a smile, and there was a sense of mutual appreciation. Not bad, ha. Little fatty, you're really lucky. Yep, absolute power had indeed increased. Very good. However, I'm afraid that there will be a lot of monstrous geniuses emerging this time. The top 10 will be under a lot of pressure, especially when it comes to sword Dao. Ahem. Chen Hao coughed awkwardly and couldn't help but glance at Miao Xian. Humph. Miao Xian coldly snorted and turned her face to the side. Originally, it was nothing much. However, Miao Xian's actions were so obvious. Moreover, it was the action of a young girl flirting. This made the instincts of women who were afraid immediately feel that something was amiss. However, the old man thinks highly of you. Work hard. Qi. Qi. Sword King Chen Taishu acted as if he was just passing by. After he finished speaking, he left with Miao Xian and Qing Yang. Everyone let out a long sigh of relief. The pressure that the Sword King imperceptibly brought to everyone was too great. But before they could finish their breaths, Qi. 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 An aura that wasn't inferior to the Sword King suddenly appeared, surrounded by many graceful figures. King. King Ying. Junior Chen Wanxiang pays his respects to King Ying. Greetings to King Ying. Shocked voices rang out. No one dared to look directly at her. King Ying, only Chen Hao and Si Xian were slightly excited as they looked at this woman who had a graceful bearing and didn't seem to have many traces of age on her body. Chen Nan and the rest didn't feel this way. Because Yilan didn't tell them about King Ying. No need for formalities. Principal Cheng, congratulations on your Dehua Academy's promotion to the top academy. Moreover, your ranking won't be too low. You flatter me, King Ying, the individual competition hasn't ended yet. It's hard to predict, this little fatty didn't even have a hard time entering the top 100. What's so hard to predict? Unfortunately, he's a guy. Principal Cheng, I'm here to ask for a disciple. Is that possible? Ah. King Ying, you're too polite. If you like, our Dehua Academy will let you choose. As long as they agree, this junior will be more than happy. Chen Wanxiang said excitedly. Who wouldn't want their disciple to enter the Jade Girl Palace? And Chen Wanxiang knew who King Ying was here for. Chen Si, are you willing to join our Jade Girl Palace? If you join, I can take. This disciple is willing. Chen Si didn't wait for King Ying to tempt her and said directly. King Ying was slightly surprised. After all, Chen Si practiced the 9 lives profound technique. Even the Star River King wanted her, but Chen Si agreed so easily. Good, come with me now. In the individual competition, I'll let you get a good result for Dehua Academy. Go. Chen Hao suddenly grabbed Si Xian's hand and held it tightly. Immediately, he stared at Si Xian and said. Others didn't see anything strange, but King Ying's delicate body inexplicably trembled. Her eyes looked at Chen Hao in surprise and looked at his hand holding Si Xian's hand. Buzz! King Ying disappeared on the spot and appeared beside Si Xian. He grabbed Si Xian's hand that was held by Chen Hao and said, Good, little fatty, are you her Dao companion? You've paid a lot for me to take her away. When the individual ranking competition is over, I'll compensate you. At that time, I'll look for you. No one saw or felt that when King Ying held Si Xian's hand, he had isolated all aura and blocked Si Xian's hand. To be precise, he blocked the thing in Si Xian's hand and the thing Chen Hao gave him. Qi. Qi. After saying that, King Ying left with Si Xian. No one knew how excited King Ying was in the depths of her heart. This was something she didn't expect at all. Although Si Xian's body contained a trace of her bloodline aura, which made her think of a possibility, she didn't expect it to come so directly and so quickly. The purple crystal jade pendant, the jade pendant with her name engraved on it, which symbolized her and Yilan's love token, had appeared. How could she not be excited? However, there were too many people watching now. She could only pretend that she didn't know and leave. The reason why she promised to give the little fatty benefits was definitely not because she said it out loud, but because the jade pendant was in the little fatty's hand. This was enough to prove that the little fatty was also one of Yilan's people. How could she not care? King Ying, this is King Ying, he actually rewarded you. Haha, little fatty, looks like your luck is really awesome. King Ying said that you'd have no problem entering the top 100, and the Sword King favors you even more. He said that you'd be pressured to enter the top 10 in the way of the sword. Haha. Chen Wanxiang was thoroughly excited. His luck is really extraordinary. However, if he's worthy, if Ruolan and Ruo Xian looked at each other and conversed. They knew very well that if Qin Hao's true identity was exposed, the luck he would receive would be much more than this. Chen Qi, Lu Hui. After Chen Nan and the other girls had left, Qin Hao was finally able to take a closer look at the names of the seeded contestants. Very quickly, he found 2 names among the seeded contestants who weren't first in their groups. Their avatars were undoubtedly the same as their academy names. This clearly told Chen Hao that they were his 7th life and the little nurse, Lu Hui. Similarly, Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi and Hu Mainyang were also among the seeded contestants. However, they weren't first in their groups. Chapter 1405. In the Immortal Realm, the groups of the Daluo Golden Wonderland and the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm, as well as the seeded contestants of each group, were displayed on the huge display screen in the square. Chen Wuyang and the other 2 were surprised and excited when they saw that Chen Nan had been evaluated as one of the top 1,000 in the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm. This was a better result than Chen Hao. After all, he was 1 level higher. That was why they were surprised. In their minds, Chen Hao's monstrous talent was not something that Chen Nan could compare with. It was not surprising that Chen Nan was the first to step into the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm. After all, many monstrous talents deliberately stayed in the Daluo Golden Wonderland for a long time. However, Chen Nan's combat strength had been evaluated as one of the top 1,000, which surprised the 3 of them. Could it be that their son had awakened some powerful talent? In their opinion, this was the only possibility. At the same time, it made them look forward to the upcoming ranking matches even more. They knew that the evaluation of combat strength relied more on one's aura, which did not completely represent one's true combat strength. Chi! Chi chi chi, what a terrifying aura. Chen Hao and the others finally stepped into the huge training field of Deerchaser Peak. Unlike the team competition, the training field was now completely connected and had become an independent, peculiar 5-fold grotto heaven. The moment they stepped in, everyone was shocked by the terrifying battle intent that filled the void. Boom boom boom, the cultivators of the Daluo Golden Wonderland could not help but arouse their battle intent. This was just an invisible release of a cultivator. However, due to the large number of cultivators, it formed a terrifying battle intent that made all the cultivators' battle intent soar. This is the outermost layer of the 5-fold grotto heaven, which is the first layer. It's the spectator layer. The second layer is the preliminary round of the elimination round. 1,000 groups are evenly distributed on the second layer. The top 100,000 people from each group will step into the third layer to continue the competition. At this time, the first layer of the spectator layer will merge with the second layer, and the spectators can approach as they wish. Up to the 5th level, which is the core arena, the top 100 will be ranked. Those who can enter the third layer will be in the top 100,000, those who can enter the 4th layer will be in the top 1,000, and those who can enter the 5th layer will be in the top 100. Old Man hopes that all of you can reach the 5th level. Unfortunately, that's impossible. For our University of Dahua, it's already a huge success if even one person can reach the 4th level. Alright, contestants of the Daluo Golden Wonderland, let's move on. All disciples of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm and the rest of us will stay here and watch the battle for now. Of course, if you want to cultivate, you can also step into your Pavilion Master's mind space. However, Old Man doesn't recommend you to do so. In the competition of the Daluo Golden Wonderland, especially the experts, they are not necessarily inferior to those of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm. Watching them fight will be very helpful to your cultivation. This is a rare opportunity. Well, little fatty, you Daluo Golden Celestials can go to the second level. After you arrive, your tokens will receive the grouping information and automatically send you to the competition area where you are. Most of you should know this, so you have to be mentally prepared. Although the preliminary elimination round was divided into 1,000 groups, the number of contestants was simply too large. Although many people knew that there was no hope for them to advance and that it was very likely that they would die in the competition, there were still countless cultivators participating in the great world of CND. Confidence, luck, and experience. Even if it was just to feel the aura of the largest competition in the vast 1,000 worlds, it was worth it. With such a large number of contestants, it was destined that it would be impossible to fight one-on-one in the preliminary elimination round. Even with the existence of the law of space and time, it was not something that could be completed in a year or so. Therefore, the preliminary round was a free-for-all battle within the area. When one felt that it was too difficult to endure, one could give up. The token would directly activate the protection function and send one out, ending one's journey in the competition. However, even so, many cultivators were unable to react in time and would die under the terrifying moves. This was the cruelty of free-for-all battles. However, during the battle, if two people had already started fighting, the third party could attack, but not just one person. If they wanted to attack, they had to attack both parties at the same time. One person could challenge many people, but many people could not take the initiative to attack one person at the same time, unless the other party took the initiative to challenge many people. This was also to prevent people from forming cliques in the free-for-all battles and lose the fairness of the competition. Yes. Everyone replied in unison. Go. Pust. Pust pust pust. Let's go. Chen Hao, Wani Shui, Ao Qian, Ling Feng, Shui Fian, Su Tao, Yin Susu, and the others from the Carnage battle team turned into a stream of light and took the lead to enter the second level. Buzz. When they came into contact with the barrier of the second level, their tokens automatically emitted rays of golden light. After verifying their identities, they directly entered the second level. Brother Fatty, see you on the third level. Okay. Enveloped by the golden light, the aura of spatial distortion began to spread. The tokens were about to send them to their respective areas. At this moment, Ao Qian and Ling Feng said confidently. Although Ao Qian, Ling Feng, Shui Fian, and Wani Shui were not seeded contestants like Chen Hao, they were seeded contestants in the top 10 of their groups. In terms of combat strength, they were within the top 100,000, especially Wani Shui, who was ranked second in Group 103. This was also very strong. Buzz. Pust pust pust. Immediately, the golden light flashed and the disciples of the University of Dehua disappeared. Buzz. Soon after, Chen Hao appeared in the area where Team 954 was located amidst a series of spacetime distortions. At the same time, a golden number 1 appeared between his eyebrows. The first seeded contestant. Li Yuan from the University of Dehua is here. Top 1000, the first seeded contestant in our group. However, I think it will be difficult for him to enter the top 1000. Why? It's very simple. Our headmaster said that there were many experts who didn't belong to any academy or major faction in the individual competition. They didn't have any information about them before, so their strength was only assessed based on the aura in their tokens. Li Yuan's comprehension of the barrier in the group competition was the highest this year, and it was twice as high as the previous records, so there was no doubt that this was a bonus point. This means that his aura will not be very strong. You can feel it, and that is the truth. Then his combat strength may not be very strong. After all, aura and comprehension cannot completely represent one's combat strength. That makes sense. His aura is indeed not very strong. He is only slightly stronger than us. As soon as Chen Hao stood still, all eyes were fixed on the dazzling number 1 between his eyebrows. This was the symbol of the first seeded contestant in the group. Chen Hao also heard the probing aura and discussions. This made Chen Hao frown slightly. However, he immediately felt relieved. As the first seeded contestant, the others had nothing to be afraid of. Chapter 1406. The reason was simple. In the competition, the seeded contestants were not really not participating in the competition. Instead, they were marked to tell everyone what the seeded contestant was in their group, so that people would think twice before making a move. This was because the seeded contestants could not take the initiative to attack others. Unless someone deliberately provoked them, they would not even have a chance to fight. Among the seeded contestants, the lower-ranked contestants could challenge the higher-ranked contestants. For example, the number 10 seeded contestant could challenge the number 1 Chin Hao. This meant that Chin Hao, who was the number 1 seeded contestant in the group, would not take the initiative to attack anyone. In such a situation, what was there to be afraid of? What a troublesome rule. Chin Hao shrugged and glanced at the cultivators around him with a smile. He did not seem to care. However, he was used to keeping a low profile. Before entering the second floor, he had restrained his aura to the state he had been in 3 days ago. Because of this, these cultivators felt that Chin Hao's aura was not very strong. At this time, a few disciples from the University of Cathay appeared beside Chin Hao. There were a total of 1,000 groups. There were tens of thousands of disciples from the University of Cathay who had signed up for the individual ranking competition. It was normal for them to be assigned to Chin Hao's group. When Chin Hao scanned the surroundings, most of the cultivators who had gathered in groups of 3 to 5 avoided his gaze. After all, even if Chin Hao couldn't enter the top 1,000 in the end, he was still not someone they could compete with. Discussions were discussions, but there was no need to provoke him, nor did they dare to. However, a young man who was surrounded by several male and female cultivators looked directly at Chin Hao. He snorted and said with disdain and provocation, "Do you really think you are the number 1? There was a big, "2" between the young man's eyebrows. He was the number 2 seeded contestant in the group, too. Xiao Manyun. When Chin Hao saw the number 2, he was stunned. He seemed to be quite surprised, but he tried hard to suppress the urge to laugh out loud. He said the name of the other person. Chin Hao had already seen this name on the pagoda stele at the entrance of Zhulu Peak. Xiao Manyun, a disciple of the Celestial River King's Xiao clan, was ranked behind him. When he saw this name, Chin Hao concluded that he should be a direct descendant of the Xiao clan like Xiao Mantian. As for whether he was Xiao Mantian's brother or cousin, it was not something that Chin Hao could guess. "That's right," Xiao Manyun said proudly. "You and Xiao Mantian are brothers, right?" Chin Hao asked with a smile. However, what Chin Hao did not expect was that as soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Manyun's face turned red. His eyes were about to spit fire, and his veins were popping out. Crash! Many of the surrounding cultivators also exclaimed in shock as they looked at the fatty. It was as if Chin Hao had revealed some earth-shattering secret that shocked everyone. All right. Let's see who's more qualified to be number 1 later. Don't worry, if I, Xiao Manyun, don't challenge you, humph. Cough cough. I say, brother, Xiao Mantian and I are as close as blood brothers, can you give me some face? It doesn't matter if you are number 1 or not, it's just an empty title. To you and me, it's an extremely simple matter. I hope that we can get along well and just watch the show. Xiao Mantian and I are brothers, good brothers, even closer than blood brothers. What do you think? Shut up. If you have the guts, fight to the death with me later, I will kill you. No one dares to mention him in front of me. No one. Xiao Manyun almost roared. Ah. Did I say something wrong? Chin Hao seemed to be surprised. In actual fact, when he mentioned Xiao Mantian, from Xiao Manyun's attitude and the reactions of the surrounding people, he could feel that Xiao Mantian had a deep grudge, but he pretended not to know. Of course, Chin Hao really didn't know what grudge Xiao Mantian had. Brother Fatty, be careful, Xiao Mantian is very strong. You shouldn't have angered him, don't tell me you don't know that Xiao Mantian are rivals. At this moment, a student from the University of Dehua who was in Chin Hao's group suddenly transmitted his voice to Chin Hao. Oh. What grudge? I really didn't know. Chin Hao said. Xiao Mantian's Dao companion Feng Hanwei originally belonged to Xiao Mantian, but Xiao Mantian stole her away. The hatred of stealing his wife, that could be said to be the most humiliating thing for Xiao Mantian, but that was 10,000 years ago. Back then, the two of them had a public duel in the divine realm, no wonder. But it doesn't matter, I have nothing to do anyway. Chen Hao smiled and transmitted his voice to Xiao Mantian. Then, he looked towards Xiao Mantian and cupped his fists awkwardly, I'm sorry, I really didn't know that Xiao Mantian stole your Dao companion. As the saying goes, one shouldn't steal a friend's wife, much less a brother's wife. He actually bullied, rode, and took her for himself. That's too much, I'm not looking for trouble, but if I were you, I would definitely fight him to the death. That's such a big cuckold, it's too much. How can I say that to my friend? Sorry, just pretend I didn't say anything. Pooh. Fuck. This Li Yuan is really ruthless, this Li Yuan doesn't seem to be afraid of Xiao Mantian. This is going to be interesting. That's right, and no matter who is more powerful, they will have to give up a spot. The last 10 seeded contestants will have a battle royale, that's even better, our chances of qualifying will be higher. Ha! In the vast space, Xiao Mantian's battle intent and killing intent rose crazily, and he couldn't wait to kill Chen Hao immediately. But at this moment, before the competition started, no one was allowed to make a move. Otherwise, they would be kicked out and lose the right to participate in the competition. Group 954, let's go to Fatty's group and take a look. What's there to look at? Fatty is the first seeded contestant in the group, I'm afraid no one will dare to provoke him, they won't even have a chance to make a move. Not necessarily, the second seeded contestant is Xiao Mantian, a direct descendant of the Xiao family, the Xing River King. So what? It's just a battle royale. Although the disciples of the Xiao family are arrogant, they won't go as far as to provoke Fatty, right? That's true. The preliminary round is indeed boring, so let's just look around casually. There are many beauties and exciting places, that's where we will go. Let's go, let's split up, and remember to inform us of the interesting places. Okay. Swoosh. 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 After Chen Hao and the others stepped into the second level, the cultivators of the University of Dahua were teleported to the first level of the observation space with their tokens. They only needed to activate their tokens and enter the number of the group, and they would be teleported to the area near the barrier of the corresponding group. Chapter 1407. Chen Wanxiang, Ruolan, Ruoxian, and Mo Shilin of the True Martial Pavilion all chose Chen Hao's group. At their level, there was no point in watching such a competition. Of course, they chose Chen Hao, who they cared about the most. Chi. Here. Chen Nan, Pan Long, and the other brothers and sisters who had already entered the Grand Mist Supremacy realm naturally rushed to Chen Hao's group. They wanted to know how strong Chen Hao, who was only Chen Hao in the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland, was. That was the goal that all of them were chasing, the idol in their hearts, their boss. They believed that Chen Hao was not as simple as he appeared to be. This was the conclusion that they had come to after experiencing countless proofs. Their boss could never be measured by appearances. Phew, I really hope that boss will always be this chubby and cute. That way, I'll look much more handsome, hee. Lan Feng chuckled as he locked onto Chen Hao's figure through the barrier. It's useless. It's just a facade. Didn't you see boss like this? Didn't he take care of teacher Si Xian and that Wani Shui? Moreover, I think boss should have taken care of all the female disciples of the Sword King Chen Taishu. What should have? Definitely. It shouldn't be wrong. She looked at me with an undetectable hostility. Maybe she thinks I'm Big Brother's cultivation partner. Chen Ling said. Okay. Chi. At this moment, Ruolan and Ruoxian suddenly appeared beside Chen Nan and the others. Ruolan even greeted them with a smile. Hello, teachers. Chen Nan and the others had met Ruo Lan and Ruo Xian before. When Chen Hao introduced Dean Cheng Wanxiang, he also introduced the two of them. Moreover, everyone could feel that these two beautiful young teachers treated Chen Hao very well. Li Yuan, oh, no, Chen something, perhaps you really want to join our Dahua Academy. Are you interested? You're now disciples of Parkway Academy, and our Dahua Academy can't compare to you. However, after this ranking competition, Dahua Academy will also be a top academy. Our conditions will be greatly improved. The only thing we lack compared to Parkway Academy is our foundation. Teacher Ruo Lan, you don't need to say anything more. After the competition, we'll be free. We will all follow my brother. Chen Nan's expression was as tranquil as water as she said calmly. Du's state of mind was not at all affected by the two teachers' powerful auras. Oh. That's great. Ha! Great! Cheng Wanxiang suddenly appeared, he suddenly appeared, suddenly, and the others of Lan and the others. Yes, Dean Cheng. Chen Nan didn't seem to be surprised by Cheng Wanxiang's sudden appearance at all. Alright. Therefore, when he saw Cheng Wanxiang appear, he immediately spoke up. Ha! Don't worry, even if you don't say anything, old man won't mistreat you. Chi chi chi. Suddenly, a few figures appeared in front of them in a flash, causing Chen Nan and the others to be slightly puzzled. After all, in such a vast space, if they did not know each other, they would have to keep a certain distance. However, these cultivators from the Grand Mist Supremacy realm had appeared directly in front of them. Hey, shut up you pervert, I'll say it. Another voice interrupted a sissy. Excuse me, are you the Dean of Dahua Academy, Senior Cheng Wanxiang? That's right, you are. Cheng Wanxiang looked at the 10 people in front of him, slightly puzzled, and asked. The sissy who spoke first exuded a majestic vitality that was shockingly pure, and his aura was extremely strong. The young man who interrupted him and the other 8 people also had a strong aura. If they were in Dahua Academy, they would definitely be among the top. We're Li Yuan's friends, Yin Xian. Zhou Qinglong. It's you. Ha! Itoda suddenly patted his head and shouted, do you still remember me? Hey, you. Aren't you little whites? Itoda. Ha, pervert, I didn't expect you to remember me. Long time no see. Why, are you also here to watch boss's competition? Itoda had met Zhou Qinglong and the others in the Hongmeng domain of the chaotic boundless world. However, at this moment, Zhou Qinglong, Yin Xian, and the others had disguised their appearances and auras, so Itoda did not recognize them directly. Yes. We're not just here to watch Brother Chen's competition. After the competition, we'll follow him. Yin Xian said. You are also going to join Dahua Academy? Are you also little fatty's friends? Cheng Wanxiang's old face showed a trace of excitement again. Yes. Dean Cheng, we're all the top 100 disciples in the top Red Cloud Academy. We're also Li Yuan's brothers. Yin Xian said. In the team competition, when Chen Hao's 5th life, the Tree of Life, left the team on its own accord after receiving the order of Chen Hao's origin, the 5th life told them about his true situation and the situation they were about to face. Chen Shusheng did not return until the end of the 5th life, which made Zhou Qinglong and the others aware that Chen Shusheng would not appear again. They followed Chen Shusheng's information and went to look for the little fatty Li Yuan from the University of Taoism, who was also Chen Hao, the one who had been in contact with them in the vast 1,000 worlds. Well, you're very welcome. Ha! Cheng Wanxiang stroked his long beard and laughed. This situation made Cheng Wanxiang look forward to little fatty's ability even more. He was very clear that a genius who could conquer so many geniuses, who were now one realm higher than him, must have extremely powerful ability that was enough to convince these people wholeheartedly. Otherwise, he would not be able to do this. There was another point. To judge whether a man was strong or not, one only needed to look at his women to know. How many Taoist companions did little fatty have? Moreover, each of his Taoist companions was an outstanding talent. Come on, let me introduce you. From now on, we'll be good brothers. Ito Kenta introduced everyone enthusiastically. The time has come. The individual ranking competition will officially begin. The rules of the competition are as follows. A magnificent voice suddenly rang in everyone's ears. The host repeated the rules of the competition and the precautions that had to be taken in every competition. At this time, a huge screen in the square in the immortal realm began to switch the areas of the 1,000 groups. The screen was locked on the first seated player of each group, and there was a voice introduction. Chapter 1408. In the first group, the first seated contestant is Chen Tianhe, the top student of Zhulu Academy, the direct disciple of the Star River King. He is ranked first in the evaluation. He is one of the most promising contestants to win the championship. In the second group, the first seated contestant is Xiao Jiutian, the direct disciple of the Star River King's Xiao family. He is ranked second in the evaluation and is also the most promising contestant to win the championship. Every introduction caused cheers in the immortal world. Although these were not the final results, the overall difference between the evaluation results and the final ranking was very small. Therefore, those who were first introduced at this time were undoubtedly the top monsters in the great world of CND. In the 16th group, the first seated contestant is Miao Xian, a disciple of Zhulu Academy, the body of the Sword Emperor, the direct disciple of the new generation Sword King, Chen Taishu. She is expected to compete for the top 10 or even higher. Voila, Miao Xian's image and her introduction caused a huge sensation. The power of a beautiful genius was indeed much stronger than the average person. Only the first 100 contestants were introduced, which were the top-seeded contestants of the first 100 groups. What really surprised the people of the great world of CND was that half of the 100 contestants were young cultivators who had just been born. Their evaluation was only based on the most basic aura of the token. Therefore, when introducing these people, they all used a sentence, the evaluation may have a big deviation. Many of them even used the soul of all creation. This made everyone clearly feel that the evaluation of this year's ranking might have a big deviation compared to the previous years. The great era had arrived, the Emperor's star group had appeared, and the soul of all creation had been born one after another. Let the competition begin. Chi. Boom boom boom, kill. Die. As soon as the host gave the command, the area where the 1,000 groups were located directly erupted. No one dared to hesitate, and no one had the mentality of sitting on top of the mountain and watching the tigers fight. This was because every time a cultivator eliminated an opponent, the token would automatically release energy to replenish the cultivator's essence, energy, and true essence to the peak state. Therefore, there was no point in running away. It was wiser to choose a suitable opponent first. Of course, if someone wanted to use the rules to cheat, for example, if two people colluded and didn't make a move, they would just fight to buy time and let the others be eliminated. In the end, they would become one of the top 100 members. This was also impossible. The token would make a judgment based on one's combat strength. If the two of them continuously fell below the basic standard, the two of them would be disqualified. Die. Chi. Boom boom boom, in Qinhao's group area, Xiao Manyun did not hesitate at all. The moment the match began, he raised his strength to its peak state and violently rushed towards Qinhao. No way, fuck, this is intense. Xiao Manyun actually dared to provoke Hua Li Yuan directly. The direct descendants of the Xiao clan are really crazy. Isn't it just a group ranking? It won't affect them at all, but they still have to fight to qualify. You can't say that. Don't you understand that experts are lonely? People who like to fight can't stay idle. Moreover, if he can defeat the first seeded contestant, he might be the seeded contestant of the new group in the next round. That's true. However, I feel that it's really unnecessary. If he has the strength, he can unleash it when he needs to. It won't affect anything at all. Why bother? What if Hua Li Yuan is stronger than him? After all, the one evaluating him is Li Yuanxiang. The cultivators in group 954 started to discuss among themselves. Chen Wanxiang and the rest frowned and looked at Xiao Manyun unhappily. This was simply a lunatic. Was he crazy? Group competition, what was there to provoke? However, this was the rule, and no one could stop it. Quick, Group 954, second-seeded Xiao Manyun is provoking first-seeded Hua Liyuan. Ah. So intense? I'll be there soon. It can't be, right? Alright, I'll be there soon. Hua Liyuan, the one with the highest comprehension ability, we must watch. The situation in Group 954 was directly transmitted through the cultivators. Chi chi chi, in an instant, rays of golden light flashed, and countless cultivators gathered in the spectator area where Group 954 was at. The Xiao clan's Xiao Manyun was the same as Xiao Mantian. They were both well-known figures in the great thousand immortal world of the immortal emperors. On the other hand, Li Yuan of the Dahua Academy was the biggest dark horse in this year's tournament. He ranked first in terms of individual comprehension in the team competition. It could be said that he single-handedly led the Dahua Academy into the top 100. He could definitely be called the one with the highest comprehension ability. This kind of battle was naturally very attractive. After a while, the countless city squares in the celestial world started to broadcast the battle between Xiao Manyun and Fatty Li Yuan. This is luck, right? No matter where I go, whether it's intentional or not, I will become the center of attention. Xiao Manyun from the Xiao family is destined to be the stepping stone to increase my brother's fame. Chen Nan thought to himself. There was not a hint of worry in his eyes. Even if Xiao Manyun's attack was extremely terrifying, and Chen Hao seemed to be stunned as he looked at Xiao Manyun. He was intimidated by Xiao Manyun's aura, but it did not affect his judgment. That was because he was very clear that his brother had never been frightened by danger. That was just his brother's way of confusing the enemy, even though Chen Nan felt that his brother did not need to do that at all. Brother Xiao, is there a need? Fatty suddenly said. At the same time, he quickly retreated and avoided Xiao Manyun's violent attack. I really did not know that you have such a huge grudge with Brother Mantian. As the saying goes, don't hit someone's face when you hit someone, and don't expose someone's shortcomings when you scold someone. If I knew that he had snatched your cultivation partner, why would I mention him? Ah! Shut up, I'm going to kill you. Boom! Chi chi chi, Xiao Manyun was almost driven mad by Fatty. At this time, Fatty still put on an innocent look and exposed the biggest scar in his heart in front of everyone. Furthermore, he knew that if the second person challenged the first person, he would probably become the target of the entire immortal world. In other words, Chen Hao's words were equivalent to telling everyone in the great world of CND that his cultivation partner had been snatched away by someone else. Don't, Brother Xiao. I have a lot of respect for the Star River King. Ever since I stepped into the cultivation world, he has become my idol. I don't want to make a move on his bloodline. Don't force me, okay? You have to believe that I really did not know that you and Xiao Mantian. Shut up. Alright, I just want to tell you that I have only been in the great world of CND for a very short time. There are many things that I don't know. I only met Brother Xiao Mantian when we invited him to participate in the Emperor Star Secret Realm. Sigh. Do you really want to fight with me? If there's you, then there's me. If there's me, then there's you. If you have the guts, then fight to the death with me. Chapter 1409. Do you really have to do this? The fatty's face became a little dignified and conflicted. In the eyes of others, the fatty naturally did not want to go against the powerful Xiao clan disciple, and at the same time, he must be a little afraid of Xiao Manyun. Otherwise, he would definitely not be like this. Xiao Manyun also thought so, and did not put Chen Hao in his eyes. However, the fatty's dodging speed was beyond his imagination, and his pressure was obviously unable to imprison Chen Hao. This made him dare not let his guard down. Don't be long-winded anymore. Soon you will see the real killing move of my Xiao clan. Xiao Manyun said coldly as he approached and attacked step by step. As expected of a Xiao clan disciple. He is obviously enraged, but he can still be so rational. Chen Wanxiang frowned, but he was not very worried. Because at this moment, Chen Hao's aura was not at its strongest state at all. Yes, although he is angry, he is still cautious. He said this to intimidate the little fatty, so that he will be timid in the battle and be prepared to deal with his big move at all times. The corner of Ruoxian's mouth raised slightly with a touch of disdain, and she said lightly, "Unfortunately, he used the wrong person. Haha, Ruoxian, it seems that the two of you are satisfied with the effect of his special training? You will be surprised, Dean." Ruolan smiled slightly and said mysteriously, "Well, in that case, I will send you out. Don't blame me for not giving you a chance." Chen Hao's deliberate posture was enough, and even the Star River King could not say anything. It was completely Xiao Manyun who had pushed him too far. And this was undoubtedly what Chen Hao wanted. He, who was weak, had to be wary of the Star River King's Xiao clan. After all, this was just the beginning. In the end, in this year's ranking competition, he would have to fight to the death with Chen Tianhe, who was the direct disciple of the Star River King. Qi. With Chen Hao's words, Chen Hao, who had been dodging and retreating, finally stopped retreating and drew his sword. "I'll ask you one last time. Are you sure you can't stop fighting?" An incomparably sharp sword intent bloomed from the fatty's fat body. At this moment, in the eyes of the crowd, the fatty's figure was ignored. They felt that he was an incomparably sharp sword. Man, sword, and heaven as one. So strong. What a terrifying sword Dao realm. He has completely surpassed the limits of his own realm. Moreover, there is no need for him to adjust at all. He has directly entered the state of mind where he is one with the sword. He is simply too strong. I never thought that Dahua Li Yuan was a pure sword puppet. That's right, that's right. A pure sword puppet is undoubtedly the strongest amongst those of the same realm. At this moment, the countless cultivators who had gathered here, as well as all the cultivators who were watching the battle in the celestial realm, were stunned by Fatty's aura. No one would have thought that the fatty who everyone thought was afraid of Xiao Manyun wasn't really afraid, but just didn't want to make a big fuss. No one knew that the aura they felt at this moment was no different from Xiao Manyun's. In fact, Xiao Manyun did not even feel that Chen Hao's sword essence was terrifying. "You!" Xiao Manyun was so angry that his face turned purple like a pig's liver. Chen Hao's confident manner of going easy on him made him furious, and he couldn't stand it. Chen Hao was just the first seated participant, and he actually dared to look down on him, Xiao Manyun. Devour the void. Die. Boom. With a furious roar, Xiao Manyun circulated his power to the extreme and struck out with his palm. In an instant, with him as the starting point, the void suddenly seemed to collapse. Like a pitch-black laser beam, it broke through the air from his fist and formed a black hole. Wherever it passed, the space distorted and collapsed. A destructive will that contained an ancient aura swept through the heavens and earth. Devour the void. Only the direct disciples of the Xiao clan had the qualifications and ability to cultivate it. However, they might not be able to cultivate it successfully. When the fist was released, it didn't have the domineering aura of devouring the heavens and earth. However, it could lock onto its target and would not stop until the target was devoured. Of course, it would be a different story if it was destroyed by an even stronger force. However, Xiao Manyun didn't think that the fatty's aura could do that. This was the strongest technique that he had painstakingly mastered before this year's ranking competition. Originally, he had planned to reveal it in the later stages of the competition. But now, he, who felt that he was being looked down upon, could not hold it in any longer and exploded. Devour the void. Amazing. Ah. Xiao Manyun actually cultivated the Xiao clan's Devour the Void. Not good. Countless people exclaimed. The teachers of the Dahua Academy, including Chen Wanxiang, all changed their expressions. Li Yuan of the Dahua Academy is finished. No one can avoid the Devour the Void even if they are of the same level or even slightly stronger. This is the ultimate technique that the Star River King comprehended from his bloodline origin. Good, good, it's best that Li Yuan is finished. Ha ha ha. The people of the Tanglong Academy gloated. However, just as the black hole-like light beam was about to land on the fatty's lips curled into a cold smile. He suddenly attacked with his sword. Chi! The incomparably sharp sword light contained a terrifying sword aura and went straight for the black light beam. Explode! At the moment when the sword light and the black hole collided, Qin Hao's clear and loud shout was heard. Rumble, pft! Xiao Manyun felt as if his chest had been struck by lightning, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He was extremely shocked. No matter what, he did not expect Qin Hao to be able to break his most powerful skills so easily with just one move. At this moment, his heart was beating violently. He was terrified and flustered. Chi! 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 Amidst the terrifying energy explosion, a few sharp sword lights suddenly pierced through the black energy and shot towards Xiao Manyun like arrows. At this moment, Xiao Manyun felt that his soul was being imprisoned by a terrifying sword aura. He couldn't dodge it even if he wanted to. Pressure, sword aura pressure. Whoosh! It was also at this moment that a bright golden light suddenly poured down from Xiao Manyun's forehead, protecting him. Boom! Boom! No! Impossible! Impossible! Ah! Xiao Manyun looked at the golden light that enveloped him, and his face instantly turned pale. He roared crazily. Unfortunately, his body was completely protected by the golden light, and there was no way for him to escape. I've said it before. Xiao Mantian is my friend. Devour the void. When we sparred, I suffered a lot. Unfortunately, you're slightly weaker than Mantian, plop. Xiao Manyun sat on the ground dejectedly. Then, as the golden light became brighter and brighter, he disappeared from the competition area. A trace of coldness flashed past Qin Hao's lips unnoticeably. If it wasn't for everyone watching, if it wasn't for Qin Hao, the killing god, how could Qin Hao be so merciful to a fool? If Qin Hao really wanted to kill Xiao Manyun, he wouldn't have allowed the protection of the token to be activated in time. However, Qin Hao couldn't do that. Qin Hao knew when to be patient and when to be fearless, so he only forced Xiao Manyun out of the elimination round. Defeating the enemy with one strike. Chapter 14:10. At this moment, the onlookers at the scene, the spectators in the viewing area, and the onlookers in the celestial realm all widened their eyes and mouths in shock. Silence. At this moment, it was surprisingly quiet. No one had expected Qin Hao to be so powerful. Just a moment ago, most of them thought that Qin Hao would be killed by Xiao Manyun's Void Devour. But the next moment, Qin Hao only used one sword move to break the powerful unique skill created by the Star River King. Not only that, but the remaining power of the sword even pushed Xiao Manyun to the brink of death. He activated the protection function of the token and lost the qualification to continue the competition, and was eliminated. Everyone knew that if the fatty wanted to, he could definitely kill Xiao Manyun with one sword move. They were not on the same level at all. Crash, so powerful, he's too powerful. Dahlia Yuan's aura is not very strong, but his combat power is so terrifying. He even has an invincible sword move in the realm of swordsmanship. It's really incredible. No wonder he's the one with the best comprehension ability. He's really powerful. After a few seconds of silence, the crowd suddenly burst into an uproar. Countless exclamations were heard, and their eyes were filled with disbelief as they looked at the figure who had sheathed his sword. If Dahlia Yuan's name was remembered by countless cultivators because he was the one with the best comprehension ability in the team competition, then Dahlia Yuan's terrifying swordsmanship strength had really made the fatty famous in the world. Because at this moment, it could be said that all the cultivators in the great world of CND had their eyes on him. Good. Good. What a little fatty. Chen Wanxiang's face was red with excitement, and he pulled his beard hard. Brother, I knew that you're the strongest. Chen Nan murmured, clenching his fists tightly. Itoda, Coiling Dragon, Du Jing, Lan Feng, Chen Ling, Pan Dong Lu, and all of Chen Hao's brothers and sisters were also inexplicably excited. The figure they saw was the fatty, but in their eyes, it was as if they saw the god of killing, Chen Hao, rise again and again. Just one sword strike was enough to make their blood boil. Unknowingly, they had already fallen in love with this feeling. This also made them look forward to the scene of Chen Hao competing with the real monstrous geniuses of the great world of CND. Brother Shao, I'm sorry, no one knew that the big shot sitting on the podium, the new generation's sword king Chen Taishu, had suddenly cupped his fists and spoke to the celestial river king beside him. Brother Chen, why do you say that? Hee, I won't hide it from Brother Shao. This little fatty can be considered as my disciple, oh. Celestial River King frowned slightly and looked at Chen Taishu. It's like this. As you can see, my disciple Miao Xian is already together with him. Previously, I specially went to the University of Fine Arts to observe this little fatty. Fortunately, I was quite satisfied. He is qualified to be my Tushuhi disciple. I didn't expect that this fellow actually eliminated Brother Zhao's junior. You're talking about this? He only has himself to blame. Brother Chen, you don't have to care about it. I said that the Shao clan's disciples will not be treated differently in the past. Not now, not in the future. As long as it is a competition within the rules, regardless of life or death, everyone will be treated equally. But, Brother Chen, do you really like this little fatty? Yes. In that case, I have to say the ugly words first, huh? Brother Shao, you wouldn't have taken a fancy to this little fatty, right? Celestial River King, Brother Chen, no matter who takes a fancy to this little fatty, I will make it clear in advance. This little fatty is my disciple Chen Xi's Dao companion. Before you take him away, you have to give me a year's time. This is the compensation I promised him. To tell you the truth, if this little fatty is a woman, I will snatch him from you. To Chen Taishu and Celestial River King's surprise, King Ying interjected. However, King Ying's words made Chen Taishu very happy. This undoubtedly increased Chen Hao's bargaining chip. Ha! Celestial River King smiled slightly, looked at the two and said, you two probably didn't see that he also has the 9 lives profound technique, right? Huh? Chen Taishu and King Ying were surprised at the same time. Chen Taishu was naturally pretending, but King Ying was really surprised. He really did not see that Chen Hao had the 9 lives profound technique. So, he is the one who got your inheritance. And he taught Chen Xi. King Ying said. No, he still did not get my inheritance, but he comprehended it himself. It is different from mine, but it is much stronger than Chen Xi's. This little fatty's comprehension is really strong. Ying, Brother Chen, what I want to say is, his life is already my disciple. Moreover, if nothing unexpected happens, they will meet in this ranking competition. As for who will fuse with who, it will depend on who is stronger. Before this, I have already severed the link between his life and his origin. The strong will be the one in charge. This is also the highest level of the 9 lives profound technique. Chen Taishu and King Ying were both shocked by the Celestial River King's words. If my disciple wins, he will still be my disciple, and you can't take him away. If the little fatty wins, it will depend on his own will, although the chances are very small. I see, Brother Shao is talking about Chen Tianhe, right? This is something I did not expect. In that case, it will depend on him. However, I don't think it is a real life and death battle between them. After all, after the fusion, it is just a matter of whose mind is dominant. Chen Taishu said. The original worry completely disappeared. Even he did not expect the Celestial River King to be so straightforward. Of course, he also knew that the Celestial River King did not think that his disciple Chen Tianhe would be defeated. You can think of it that way. However, independent thinking meant 2 lives. This is also the biggest flaw of the 9 lives profound technique. Otherwise, the 9 lives profound technique would be perfect. Celestial River King said. Brother Li is amazing. What a strong invincible sword momentum. I didn't expect Brother Li to be a sword genius. In my opinion, this evaluation ranking obviously underestimated Brother Li's powerful battle strength. Yes, it is absolutely underestimated. Not to mention the top 1,000, even the top 100, I feel that Brother Li can easily win. Several cultivators with the number of seated contestants flashing between their eyebrows said to Chen Hao. No one dared to challenge. They had seen Chen Hao's terrifying sword. At this moment, they were not flattering, but admiring from the bottom of their hearts. In their view, the strength shown by Li Yuan's sword definitely had the hope of reaching the top 100, or even higher. Moreover, this evaluation was based on the situation of this competition. If it was in the previous competitions, it was not impossible to reach the top 10.